The rope bridge creaks beneath the feet of the 6 hunters. The 12th floor of the pasty dungeon. The fog below is so thick it seems solid. Ethan Pack brings up the rear, carrying a bag of potions on his back, the same bag he's been lugging for the 3rd raid in a row. Ahead, Jake Ryu stops and raises his hand. Everyone freezes. Ethan, too. Something is growling in the fog below. Not just one. Dozens. Jake turns and looks at Ethan, not as a person, but as meat that's been sitting in the freezer too long and has finally come in handy. He draws his blade. The other 4 step aside. No one objects. No one even looks away. Ethan realizes everything a second before the blade touches the rope. Jake says he's sorry. He says Ethan has a skill that isn't even considered a combat skill. He says Ethan isn't a teammate but bait that walked right into the trap. Ethan looks him in the eye and says just 2 words. I'll remember. Jake's smirk fades for a second. Then he strikes. The rope snaps with a sharp crack. The bridge collapses. Ethan falls. 40 meters of free fall. His first thought isn't about death. His first thought is that if he hits a hard surface on his back from this height, a pelvic fracture is inevitable. If he hits it sideways, a ruptured spleen. Occupational hazard. He worked on an ambulance for a year and still assesses injuries faster than he feels fear. The wind hits his face. The fog swallows him whole. And at that moment, a blue window flashes before his eyes. The text on it flickers and forms into words. Survivor detected within range. Activate protocol. Ethan doesn't know what the protocol is. He doesn't know why the system is showing him this right now. He knows only one thing. He's go. And down below, someone else is still alive. A blow. Water. The cold pierces his body right through. An underground lake. He sinks deeper and his ribs slam against the rocky bottom. 2 ribs, maybe 3. The pain is so intense that his vision goes dark. But he surfaces. He surfaces because his lungs are still working and his arms still obey him. He crawls onto a wet rock. He coughs up water. Everything is swimming before his eyes. And then he sees her. 20 meters further along the shore, a girl is lying on a flat rock. Her leg is torn open from the knee to the ankle. The blood isn't flowing anymore. It's oozing. That's a bad sign. It means her blood pressure has dropped below critical levels. 3rd-degree bleeding. Without help, she has 10 minutes left. Maybe 5. She turns her head and looks at him. Her eyes are cloudy. Her lips are gray. She wheezes for him to leave. She says there are many of them. Ethan has heard that phrase hundreds of times. On every night shift in the ambulance, someone told him to leave. He never once walked away. He crawls toward her. Every movement sends pain shooting through his broken ribs. He rips off his belt. He applies a tourniquet above the wound. His hands move on autopilot. Tourniquet. Compression. Checking her pulse. There's a pulse. Weak. Faint. But it's there. And then a blue window lights up in his eyes again. Skill acquired. Bloody circle. Rank D. Description. Stops bleeding within a 3-meter radius. Cost. 5 mana points. Ethan looks at the window, then at the girl. Her name is Yu-Na So. He doesn't know that yet. He doesn't know she's rank B. He doesn't know that she's been working alone ever since her last team was killed. He doesn't know that she has data on her flash drive that will turn everything upside down. Right now, he knows only one thing. He has a patient in front of him, a 3rd-class hemorrhage. Her pulse is thread-like. Her blood pressure is dropping. He tells her to hang in there. He says he's on duty today. He activates the blood circle. A blue light flashes around them in a ring. The bleeding stops. Yu-Na looks at him with an expression he's seen 1,000 times in patients, a mixture of shock and confusion. She asks who he is. He replies that he's F rank. She thinks he's joking. He isn't joking. A growl echoes from the fog again. Closer. Ethan turns his head. 3 pairs of yellow eyes glimmer in the milky mist. Hounds of the Maw. According to the association, there are at least 20 of them on this floor. They can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. Their bite force is 3 metric tons per square centimeter. To take them on, you'd need at least a 4-person squad of D ranks. Ethan is an F rank. 1 broken skill, 2 broken ribs, and 1 patient he has no right to abandon. The first hound bursts out of the fog. Ethan steps between it and you. A body falls onto the stones from above. A man, an old man. His gray hair is drenched in blood. He's moaning, alive, so that's another patient. Rocks are falling from the ceiling, and a second body follows. Light, small, hair cut short like a boy's. Alive too. Broken too. Ethan counts. 3 patients. 20 hounds in the fog. 1 bag of potions that the former team forgot to take from him. He opens the bag. 4 health potions. 2 mana potions. Bandages. Antiseptic. This will last 2 days if they conserve it. The old man regains to consciousness and looks at Ethan, at his ambulance jacket, at the blue light of the blood circle. He says the kid won't pull them through. Ethan doesn't answer. He gets to work. A tourniquet on the old man's forearm, a health potion for the shaven-headed kid, pulse, blood pressure, assessment, next. 3 beeps in a row. Steel skin, rank C, description. Creates a protective barrier on the target's skin. Dash, rank D, description. Instantaneous movement of 5 meters. Wound assessment, rank E, description. Shows the exact nature of the target's injuries. Ethan activates steel skin on all 3 of them. A silvery film covers their bodies. He stands up and turns toward the fog. The hounds are coming. 5, 8, 12. He counts them the same way he counted patients on his shift. No panic. No unnecessary emotions. The first one leaps. He uses dash and steps aside. The hound crashes into a rock. The second one flies after her. He spins around. The blood circle works on more than just humans. The blood in the hound's veins freezes for half a second. That's enough for her to lose her balance and fall. Ethan grabs a rock from the ground. He strikes. He strikes like a man who spent a year breaking up ice on the sidewalk outside the hospital during night shifts. Precisely. Hard. In the exact same spot. 6 hours. For 6 hours he holds his ground. The hounds come in waves. He doesn't kill them with skill, not with strength. He kills them by refusing to back down. Every time another creature breaks through to the wounded, he's a step ahead. A lunge, steel skin, blood circle, a lunge, again, again, again. His mana potions will run out in 3 hours. He keeps going on empty mana. His body is shaking. Blood is running from his nose. His ribs crack with every movement. But he stands his ground. He stands because there are 3 people behind him, and not a single one of them will die as long as he's still breathing. When the association's rescue team descends into the dungeon 6 hours later, they expect to find bodies. Instead, they find a campfire. Ethan is sitting by the fire. Next to him are 3 wounded people. All are stable. All have been bandaged. All are alive. And in the fog around them lie 16 dead pasty hounds. An F rank who'd been written off as a lost cause single-handedly cleared a quarter of the 12th floor. The association analyst looks at the scanner readings, then at Ethan, then back at the scanner. He spills coffee on his tablet and says one word. Recount. The rescue team's rope sways in the fog. Ethan counts. 4 in association gear, 2 stretchers, a medic with an oxygen tank. They descend quickly and professionally. The first one touches the ground and freezes, staring at the bodies of the hounds around the campfire. His partner pulls out the scanner and begins recording the readings. The medic rushes over to Yuna. Ethan gives a brief report. Female. Soft tissue laceration of the lower leg. A tourniquet was applied 6 hours ago. It was changed every hour and a half. Bleeding was stopped using first aid skills. Blood pressure has stabilized. Pulse is 72. The medic looks at him as if he were a hallucination. Then he nods and gets to work. Ethan moves on to the old man. Fractured radius. Immobilized with a makeshift splint made from a piece of shield. Received a health potion 4 hours ago. Stable. The old man sits by the fire and looks at Ethan in silence. Then he asks his name. Ethan Pack. The old man nods. He pulls a blue whale guild badge from his inside pocket. He places it in Ethan's hand. He says that now he owes him one. He tells him to stop by when he makes it back up. The third patient. A teenager with a crew cut. Ethan already knows it's a girl. He realized it when he was bandaging her ribs. He didn't say a word. He just wrapped her in bandages and gave her a potion. She looks up at him. Her eyes are huge and wet. She whispers a single word. "Thank you." Ethan nods and helps lay her on the stretcher. The climb upstairs takes 40 minutes. Every meter is accompanied by pain in his ribs. Ethan doesn't complain. Chaos awaits on the surface. 3 association vehicles, journalists behind the barrier, and Jake Ryu in the center of it all, in his clean uniform, a concerned look on his face. He sees Ethan, and for a second his facade cracks. He turns pale. Then he pulls himself together and smiles broadly. He rushes over to him. He says they've been looking for him. He says he's a hero and that the whole team was worried. Ethan stands before him in a blood-soaked jacket with 3 broken ribs and looks him in the eyes. "Speak quietly." "I was looking for you too." Jake doesn't answer. His smile freezes. An association officer stands nearby with a tablet. He's already taking notes. The old man from the Blue Whale has already given his statement downstairs. He said he saw the bridge being deliberately blown up. He said he heard Jake's voice from above. He said that an F rank held the line alone for 6 hours. The officer looks at Jake, then at Ethan. He says that the Silver Fang team is suspended from raids until the investigation is complete. Jake starts to object. The officer raises his hand and says it's not up for discussion. Ethan is taken to the association's hospital. A 2-person room, white walls, the smell of antiseptic. He lies down on the cot and closes his eyes for the first time in 10 hours. His ribs are bandaged. His mana is recovering. His body aches but is still functioning. One thought keeps spinning in his head. 3 skills. In a single day, he's acquired 3 combat skills. In a year of working on the ambulance, he got nothing. The system remains silent. And now, it's speaking. He opens the status window. Name, Ethan Park. Rank, F. Skills, help a stranger. Unique, blood circle. D. Steel skin. C. Sprint. D. Wound assessment. E. Threads of duty. 3. Yuna So. An old man, a teenager with a crew cut. He looks at the list and realizes. Each skill appeared the moment he saved someone. Not when he killed, not when he won, when he saved. His mark works differently than everyone else's. For all hunters, skills grow from the experience of killing monsters. For him, from the lives he's saved. He lies in the darkness and thinks about it. Then he falls asleep. A knock on the door wakes him. It's morning. A woman in an association uniform enters the ward. She introduces herself as the licensing department coordinator. She says that, in light of the new circumstances, his rank has been revised. F+. Ethan looks at her. He asks what F+ means. She explains that it's an intermediate category, higher than F but lower than E. It allows him to participate in E-level raids as part of a team. It does not allow solo missions. It does not grant access to the core auction. It does not allow him to receive housing from the association. Essentially, he remains trash in the eyes of the system. Just trash with a registration. The coordinator leaves. Ethan sits on his bunk. F+. Yesterday, he killed 16 pasty hounds all by himself. He saved 3. He earned a C-rank skill, and they gave him an F+. He clenches his jaw and says nothing. An hour later, a second visitor arrives, a man in a suit. He introduces himself as analyst Kim Tae-hyun from the statistics department. He says he needs to talk. He sits down next to Ethan. He pulls out a tablet. The screen displays graphs, skill progression curves. A standard progression for an F rank. Ethan's line shoots straight up and breaks the scale. Kim Tae-hyun looks at him over his glasses. He says that doesn't happen. He says that in the entire history of the association, no F rank has ever acquired a C rank skill on the first day. He says his seal is behaving abnormally. Ethan asks what that means. Kim is silent for a second. Then he says he doesn't know yet, but he's going to find out. He says he'll dig deeper and that Ethan should be careful. Not everyone in the association will be happy to learn that an F rank is capable of such a thing. He leaves. Ethan is alone again. Through the window he can see the city. Seoul. 20 years since the gates opened. Skyscrapers with protective barriers. Guild billboards. A half-building-sized hologram of S-rank Kang Di-ho. He's smiling. White teeth. A caption, "I protect because I can." Ethan knows that Kang Di-ho hasn't closed a single gate in the last 2 years. He's just been starring in commercials and selling merchandise. That's how the world works. The strong make money. The weak die. The average ones pretend everything's fine. He's discharged from the hospital in 2 days. His ribs still ache. His mana is full. 3 threads of duty stretch from his forearm as thin, invisible lines. He can feel each one. Yuna, stable, far away. On the other side of the city, the old man, stable, somewhere to the east. The teenager with the crew cut, also stable, close by, very close. He turns around. She's standing at the hospital exit, in regular clothes. Her hair is still short, a band-aid on her face, a backpack on her shoulders. She looks up at him. She says she's been waiting. She says she wants to go with him. Ethan asks where. She says anywhere. He looks at her. She can't be more than 19. She stands before him like a puppy that has found its owner. He says he's not recruiting a team. She says she doesn't need a team. She needs someone she can trust. Ethan is silent. Then he nods. He says they'll have breakfast first. They walk to the diner across the street. He orders 2 bowls of soup. She eats greedily and quickly. He eats slowly because his ribs ache with every swallow. There's silence between them. Not an awkward one. Just the silence of 2 people who recently nearly died together. His phone vibrates. A message from the association. The text is short. The scheduled recertification for F ranks is set for 47 days from now. Hunters who fail to confirm their combat readiness will have their licenses revoked. The list of candidates for review is attached. Ethan opens the list. His name is first. Next to it is a note. Recommendation from the Silver Fang team. Status: coward who abandoned the raid. Recommendation: deportation to the Yoder Farms. He stares at the screen. Yoder Farms, legalized slavery, border dungeons from which only 1 in 10 returns. That's where they send those who've been written off, those who are no longer needed, those whom no one will look for. 47 days to pass a level D combat exam. For an F rank, that's statistically impossible. He closes his phone. The teenager across from him looks at him. She's seen his face. She asks what happened. He says he has 47 days. She asks what for. He finishes his soup. He stands up. He puts the money on the table. He looks at her and says, "For everything." 45 days until the evaluation. Ethan stands in front of the Blue Whale Guild building on the eastern outskirts of Seoul. A 12-story glass tower. An emblem on the facade. A blue whale against the backdrop of the gates. He clutches the old man's badge in his pocket. So-yeon stands beside him. She's silent, but he notices that she's pulled her hood down lower than usual, as if she's hiding. He doesn't ask. Inside, the lobby is spacious and clean. The security guard at the entrance scans the badge and raises an eyebrow. He says the badge belongs to Master Beck. Ethan nods. The security guard calls upstairs. 3 minutes later, the elevator descends. An old man steps out. His arm is in a cast. There's a fresh scar on his face, but he stands up straight. He looks at Ethan. He smiles. He says, "Quickly." He leads them upstairs. The office is on the 8th floor. Panoramic windows. A view of the south gate shimmering blue in the morning light. The old man sits down at the desk. His name is Baek Jung-soo, a former S-rank scout, now a guild advisor. He's 63. He's cleared more dungeons than most hunters have ever seen in a catalog. He pours some tea and asks Ethan why he's here. Ethan places his phone on the table, displaying a notification about the evaluation. Beck reads it. His expression doesn't change. He says it's to be expected. Silverfang has been suspended, but the Han clan, which backs them, controls a quarter of the association's administrative council. They can't cancel the investigation, but they can speed up the evaluation and rig it so that Ethan fails. Ethan asks what he should do. Peck sips his tea. Then he says the answer is simple: become stronger than they expect. Not D rank, higher, much higher, so much higher that they won't be able to ignore him. Ethan says he's an F+. Pak sets down his cup. He looks at him. He says he saw an F+ single-handedly kill 16 D-rank hounds. He says his rank has nothing to do with his strength. It has to do with the fact that the association is afraid to admit. Ethan is silent. Peck proposes a plan. Blue Kit will give him access to the training dungeons. Not combat dungeons, training dungeons. With controlled monsters and a security system. But the monsters aren't the main thing. The main thing is the people. There are always injured people in the training dungeons. Nibbies who overestimated themselves, loners who got unlucky, scouts who ventured too deep. If Ethan's seal works the way Peck thinks it does, then he doesn't need enemies. He needs patience. Ethan understands. The next 2 weeks turn into a marathon. Every day, Ethan enters Blue Whale's training dungeon. Every day, he finds the wounded. Not always on the brink of death. Sometimes just a dislocation. Sometimes a panic attack. Sometimes poisoning from a low-level monster. He heals them all. Bandages them. Stabilizes them. Brings them out. And the system responds. Not every time. Only when the rescue is genuine. When a life was truly hanging by a thread. But even that is enough. Day 3. Pulled a rookie out of a spike trap. Skill acquired. Poison neutralization. Rank E. Day 7. Stopped a panic among a group of 5 when the security system in the training hall failed and monsters began attacking in earnest. Shielded 2 of them with my body. Skill acquired. Wall of Will. Rank D. Day 9. Found a female scout unconscious on the 3rd level. Oxygen deprivation. Performed CPR for 4 minutes until her lungs started working again. Skill acquired. Breath of life. Rank C. Every morning, Soyeon waits for him at the entrance with a notebook. She writes everything down. The names of those saved, the skills acquired, time spent. She keeps track of the statistics. Ethan doesn't ask her to. She does it on her own. In the evenings, they sit in a diner, and he teaches her how to take a pulse. He shows her how to detect a fracture by touch, how to apply a splint using whatever materials are at hand. She listens with such seriousness, as if she were memorizing sacred scripture. On the 10th day, something happens that he didn't expect. He's standing in a dungeon over a wounded man, a young hunter, a laceration on his shoulder. Nothing critical. Ethan reaches out to him and catches himself thinking, if I save him, I'll gain a skill. The thought flashes and vanishes, but the system notices. A blue window flashes red. Text. Intent detected. Ability blocked for 24 hours. Ethan freezes. He looks at the window, then at the wounded man, then at his own hands. He bandages him anyway, without the skill, without the system, just with his hands. Like in an ambulance, like his mother taught him. But something inside him breaks. He saved this man not because he wanted to save him. He saved him because he wanted the skill. And the system understood that. In the evening, he sits on the roof of the guild dormitory. Soyeon sits beside him. He's silent for a long time. Then he tells her, "My mother was a nurse. She told me one thing. If you can help, then help, even if you get nothing in return. But now I do get something. For every person I save, I gain a skill. And that ruins everything. Because now, every time I reach out to someone, I don't know. Am I reaching out because I want to help, or because I want to become stronger?" Soyeon is silent. Then she says quietly, When he pulled her out of the dungeon and bandaged her ribs, he didn't know he'd get a skill for it. He didn't even know that his seal worked that way. He was just doing what he knew how to do. Ethan looks at her. She's right. He didn't know. And in that moment, it was pure. The question is whether he can regain that purity now that he knows the rules. The 24-hour lockout ends. Ethan enters the dungeon the next morning. He finds the wounded man. He doesn't think about the skill. He thinks about the wound. A third-degree burn. On the right hand. It needs to be cooled. He needs a bandage. He needs painkillers. He gets to work. His hands remember. His body remembers. His mind forgets about the system. And when he finishes, a soft ding sounds. Skill acquired. Thermal shield. Rank D. Ethan doesn't smile. He just nods and moves on. Day 14. Ethan is standing in Peck's office. On the desk is his association card, F+. Next to it is a list of skills. There are already 11 of them. 4 C rank, 5 D rank, 2 E rank. Threads of duty, 14. Peck looks at the list and says nothing. Then he says that the evaluation is in 33 days, and that Ethan needs to do more than just pass with a D. He needs to show something the association won't be able to ignore. Ethan nods. He knows. His phone vibrates. A message from an unknown number. The text is short. 3 words. We remember you. Ethan stares at the screen. Then he deletes the message. But his fingers clench into a fist. 30 days until the evaluation. The gates open at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the intersection of Canham and Tehero, right in the middle of rush hour. The rift cracks through the air like black lightning. E-rank fire lizards crawl out of it. Small, fast, hot. Body temperature, 400 degrees. They set everything they touch on fire. Bus number 712 is stuck in traffic 30 meters from the rift. There are 43 people on board. A lizard leaps onto the roof. The metal melts. The bus catches fire. At that moment, Ethan is walking out of the store with a bag of bandages. He'd been restocking the first aid kit. So-yeon is walking beside him, carrying a backpack. They hear an explosion and see smoke. They run. The police are already on the scene. A cordon has been set up. Ethan approaches an officer and says he's a hunter. The officer scans his card. F+. He looks at Ethan. He says that F-rank hunters are prohibited from approaching the gates unescorted. He tells Ethan to step back behind the cordon. Ethan looks at the bus. Fire is already engulfing half the vehicle. People are screaming inside. He counts the voices. At least 15 people are still conscious. The rest are silent. That's worse. He doesn't argue with the officer. He simply goes around the cordon from the other side. So-yeon covers him. He distracts the second officer with a question. Ethan activates sprint and is at the bus in a second. The heat hits his face. Steel skin. A silvery film covers his body. He grabs the back door and yanks it toward him. The metal is hot. He can feel it even through the steel skin. The door gives way. Smoke pours out. Inside, it's chaos. People on the floor, people in the seats. A woman clutches a child to her chest. An unconscious old man by the window. A teenager with a burned hand. Ethan steps inside. Thermal shield. The temperature around him drops. Not to 0, but enough that it doesn't burn him. He grabs the first person. A woman with a child. He carries her out. Sets her down on the asphalt. Injury assessment. 2nd-degree burn. Hands and neck. The child is unharmed. The mother shielded him with her body. He returns. The second person, an old man, unconscious. He has a pulse, weak. He carries him out. The third, the fourth, fifth. Every time he steps into the fire, every time the thermal shield and steel skin hold up, but his mana is dwindling. After the 6th rescue, his head is spinning. After the 8th, blood is running from his nose. A reporter behind the police cordon is filming everything. Live broadcast. Thousands of viewers. Then tens of thousands. An F rank in an ambulance jacket enters the burning bus time and time again and carries people out. 9th, 10th, 11th. Mana at 0. The heat shield no longer works. Steel skin flickers and fades. He enters the bus with his bare hands. There are 2 more inside. A man with his leg pinned. Ethan pulls. The leg is stuck between the mangled seats. He braces his back against the wall and pushes the seat. The metal is red hot. The skin on his palms blisters. He pushes. The seat shifts. The man is free. Ethan pulls him out and lays him on the asphalt. The last one. A girl under the seats, cowering in a corner, shaking, unharmed, just in shock. He takes her by the shoulders, tells her it's all over, tells her he'll get her out. She looks at him, at his scorched hands, at the blood from his nose, at his jacket which is still smoldering, and she clings to him. He carries her out. 11 people. 11 ding sounds in a row. Skills pour out like from a machine gun. Thermal dome, smoke barrier, the voice that is heard. 3 C-rank skills, 4 D ranks, and 1 that forces him to stop. The call of the wounded, B rank. Description: determines the location of every wounded person within a radius of 100 meters, shows the severity of the injury. B rank, for the first time. He's kneeling on the asphalt, his hands are burned, his ribs hurt again, his mana is depleted. There are 11 survivors around him. The ambulance is already on its way. The police stand there with their mouths agape. A reporter is still filming. Behind the police cordon, a crowd has gathered. So-yeon stands in the crowd and cries. Not out of fear. It's something else. Ethan gets to his feet. His legs are shaking. He walks toward the police cordon. The very same officer who wouldn't let him through is standing there, silent. Ethan walks past him. He says one phrase, F+. By evening, the video has 2 million views. By morning, 8 million. The comments are split into 2 camps. The first group calls him a hero. The second asks why an F rank is stronger than a squad of D ranks and what the association is doing. The association remains silent. But Ethan knows they can't stay silent for long. 12 people saved, 11 new threads of duty. Now there are 25 of them. He can sense each one, the thin, invisible threads of connection. 25 people in the city. He knows whether they're alive or not, healthy or wounded, safe or in danger. Among those rescued from the bus, one thread pulls stronger than the others. He doesn't know why, doesn't know who it leads to. The system doesn't show the names of the new threads until recognition reaches the threshold of 10. 2 days later, a figure stands at the threshold of his dorm. A boyish haircut, but slightly longer now. A backpack, a notebook. So-yeon. But there's another person standing next to her. Yuna So. Ethan freezes. She stands upright. Her leg is in a brace. The scar running from her knee to her ankle is covered by a compression bandage. Her face is cold. Her eyes are sharp. She isn't smiling. She looks at him and says she's come to repay a debt. Ethan says it's not necessary. She says it's not up for discussion. She pulls a flash drive out of her pocket. Small, black, ordinary. She places it in his hand. She says there's a list on the flash drive. The names of the hunters who were sent to their deaths as decoy missions over the past 3 years. 34 names. Who gave the order? Through which guild? Who signed the documents? Ethan looks at the flash drive, then at Yunu. He asks where she got it. She remains silent. Then she says it's her team, the one that died a year ago. They weren't ambushed by accident. They were sent to their deaths on orders from the Han clan. She was the only one who survived. And ever since then, she's been gathering evidence, waiting for someone she could give it to. Ethan clutches the flash drive. He says that if this is true, then 34 people were killed. She nods. 34 people. His number. His war. He doesn't know it yet, but he's already holding it in his hands. 23 days until the evaluation. Ethan sits in Paek Jong-soo's office and stares at the screen. There are 34 files on the monitor. 34 names, 34 photos, young faces, old faces, men and women. Next to each name is a dungeon number and a date. Next to each date is a single word: killed. Beck stands by the window, silent. Yuna sits in the corner, also silent. So-yeon is writing down the names in a notebook. Ethan reads the files one by one. Lee Jong-ho, 22 years old, D rank, sent to a B-level dungeon at the request of the Silver Fang Guild. Killed in 40 minutes. Park Min-ae, 19 years old, E rank, sent to a C-level dungeon on a reconnaissance mission without equipment. Killed in 12 minutes. Cho Song-woo, 27 years old, D rank, sent to a B-level dungeon as a porter. Killed in 3 hours. 34 files, 34 lives. 34 times, someone signed a document and sent a person to their death. Ethan closes the last file. He turns to Beck. He asks why Blue Whale didn't use this data earlier. Beck turns away from the window. Lee's a heavy burden. He says he couldn't use it. The Han clan controls a quarter of the association's council, half of the judicial committee, 3 of the 7 licensing commissions. Any attempt to bring this to an official level will end with the accuser being quietly written off on the next dungeon run. We need another way. Ethan asks what it is. Peck sits down in a chair. He says there's only one way to get the system moving. Publicity. Cameras. Live broadcast. Facts that can't be hidden once millions have seen them. But for that, you need status. F+ can't speak at a press conference. F+ can't submit an official request to the committee. F+ can't even enter the association building without an escort. Ethan needs a rank, not D, higher. Ethan nods. He knows this. 47 days until evaluation have already turned into 23. He gets up and leaves. So-yeon is waiting for him outside. They walk in silence. She asks what he's going to do. He says he's going to train. She nods. The days fall into a rhythm. Morning. Dang. Searching for the wounded. Rescue. Skill. Evening. Practicing skills at the Blue Whale training ground. Night. Studying files from the flash drive. 4 hours of sleep. Wake up. Start over. Yuna arrives on the second day of training. She's still in a brace. Her leg won't let her fight. But she's B rank, and her reconnaissance skills are sharp. She takes a seat at the observation post above the training ground and watches Ethan's every move. After each training session, she analyzes his mistakes. Dryly, precisely, without emotion. He plants his left foot too wide during the dash. Loses half a second on the turn. Activates the skin a second later than he should. Ethan listens and corrects himself. She's good. Very good. He understands why she was a loner. She sees combat like a chessboard. Every move is calculated 3 steps ahead. On the 3rd day of training, an uninvited guest appears at the training ground. Jake Ryu. Suspended from raids but not from the training areas. Technically, he has the right to be here. He stands by the fence, watching Ethan work. His face is twisted. Then he turns and walks away. The next day, a challenge appears on the Blue Whale Guild's bulletin board. A formal one, with a seal. Jake Ryu, rank C, challenges Ethan Pak, rank F, to an open duel in the rookie arena. The reason is stated in the notice: restoring the team's honor. According to association rules, a challenge in the rookie arena cannot be refused if the challenger is of a higher rank. Ethan reads the announcement. So-yeon, standing nearby, turns pale. Yuna stands behind him and remains silent. Then she says, "It's a trap." Jake is C rank. He has combat skills he's been honing for 3 years. Ethan's skill set lacks any cohesive system. Jake wants to destroy him before the certification. Both physically and in terms of reputation. Ethan looks at the announcement. The duel is in 7 days, 16 days until the certification. He nods. He accepts. 7 days to prepare. Ethan doesn't practice strikes. He doesn't practice attacks. He practices one thing: the mirror of debt. A skill that appeared when he saved the old man, Mr. Park. R-ang-B. Description: redirects an opponent's attack back to its source if there is an unpaid debt between Ethan and the attacker. Jake owes a debt. He pushed Ethan off the bridge and left him to die. The system marks this as an unpaid debt, not a thread. A thread binds the one who was saved. A debt binds the one who caused the harm. And as long as the debt remains unpaid, the mirror works. Yuna is the first to understand. She says he doesn't even need to strike. He just needs to stand there and wait. Ethan nods. She almost smiles. Almost. The day of the duel. The arena for newcomers. An open space with a protective barrier around the perimeter. Stands with 400 seats. Today, every seat is filled. The news that the F rank who rescued 11 people from a burning bus will be fighting a C rank from the scandal-plagued team spread like wildfire overnight. 3 camera feeds. Live broadcast. Bookmakers on the Guild's darknet are taking bets. 34-1 in Jake's favor. Ethan steps into the arena, wearing an ambulance jacket. His burned hands are wrapped in bandages. His face is calm. Jake is on the other side. Combat gear. 2 swords at his belt. A smug grin. He tells the camera he'll show everyone why F ranks shouldn't play the hero. He says the arena isn't a burning bus. Here, you need strength, not pity. The referee raises his hand. Countdown. 3, 2, 1. Jake bursts forward. 2 swords. The double fan technique. A C-rank attack combo. 8 strikes per second. Beautiful. Spectacular. Deadly for any F rank. Ethan stands his ground. He doesn't raise his hands. He doesn't take a defensive stance. He just stands there. Jake strikes. First strike. The sword slices through the space around Ethan and stops a centimeter from his neck. Mirror of duty. A blue light flashes between them. The sword spins. The energy of the strike flies back. Jake is sent flying 3 meters. He rolls across the floor. He gets up. His eyes are wild. He strikes again. Second strike. Mirror. Knocked back. Third. Mirror. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. Every strike returns to him, stronger each time. The arena is silent. 400 people and not a sound. Only the thud of Jake's body hitting the floor. 7 seconds have passed. Jake is lying down. He tries to get up. His legs won't hold him. Ethan takes a step forward. 1 step. Jake lifts his head. 8 seconds. Ethan speaks quietly, so quietly that the arena's microphones barely pick it up. I remembered. Jake falls unconscious. 8 seconds. Without a single blow. The arena erupts, but not with applause. With shouts. With questions. How? What kind of skill is this? Who is this man? So-yeon in the stands jumps up and drops her notebook. Yuna stands by the railing and, for the first time in a long while, breathes as if she'd forgotten how. Baek Jong-soo, in the Blue Whale Guild box, leans back in his chair and quietly utters a single word. That's it. The cameras are rolling. The commentator is at a loss for words. F+ defeated a C-rank opponent in 8 seconds, without a single blow. This defies all logic. Ethan stands in the arena, hands in his pockets. His face is calm. He looks at the box where the members of the association's commission are seated. Among them is a man in an expensive suit. Han Min-jun, head of the Silver Fang Guild, Jake's uncle, B rank, a subcommittee member. He sits motionless. His face is stony. Only his fingers grip the armrest so tightly that his knuckles turn white. Their eyes meet. Ethan doesn't look away. Min-jun doesn't look away either. Between them are 34 names on a flash drive. Between them is a bridge that has been severed. Between them lies everything that will happen next. Jake is carried away on a stretcher. Intensive care. 3 fractures. Internal bleeding from his own reflected blows. He'll live. He won't fight. At least 3 months of recovery. Ethan leaves the arena. A coordinator from the association is waiting for him in the hallway. The same one who gave him an F+. His face is pale. He says the certification exam has been rescheduled. in 16 days instead of 23. No explanation given. Ethan nods. He expected this. They're speeding things up, pushing him. They want him to be caught off guard, but he's already ready. He doesn't know it for sure, but he can feel it. His phone vibrates in his pocket. A message from analyst Kim Tae-hyun. The text is short. Found something important. We need to meet. Urgently. Ethan types a reply. When? The reply comes a second later. Today, in an hour. The cafe by the association's south exit. Come alone. The cafe by the association's south exit. It's small, 6 tables. The smell of cheap coffee and burnt toast. Ethan walks in and immediately spots Kim Tae-hyun in the far corner. A tablet on the table. 2 cups of coffee. One is already empty. The analyst looks terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. His fingers are trembling. He looks up at Ethan. He tells him to sit down. He says there's not much time. Ethan sits down. Kim opens his tablet. A table is on the screen. Columns of numbers. Growth curves. Ethan doesn't understand half the symbols, but he sees one line that shoots straight up and breaks the upper limit of the graph. Kim says that's his progression. Then he shows a second line, a smooth, almost horizontal one. He says this is the standard F-rank progression throughout the association's history, 20 years worth of data. 14,000 registered F-ranks. Not a single one came even close to what Ethan's showing. Ethan asks where this is leading. Kim leans back in his chair. He says he dug deeper. He found a mention in the archives of a classification that isn't in the public databases. Class 0. Not a rank. Specifically, a class. A separate category. It lies outside the F to S scale. A document from 20 years ago. Classified. Author unknown. But Kim found one detail. The document mentions a project under the First Guild. Medical unit. Staff. One of the names on the list of nurses matches Ethan's mother's maiden name. Park Ji-hyo. Ethan freezes. His hands clench into fists on the table. His mother. A nurse. She died of cancer 4 years ago. She worked the night shifts. She never said where she worked before he was born. He asked once. She smiled and said, at a hospital. Just a hospital. Kim says the document is incomplete. Most of it is classified at a security level he doesn't have access to. But he found enough to understand one thing. Ethan's fingerprint isn't a coincidence. It was planned. By someone. 20 years ago. Ethan is silent. Then he asks who else knows. Kim says only he does, and that he plans to dig deeper. But he warns him. Someone in the association doesn't want this information to come to light. Someone high enough up to classify a 20-year-old document and keep it under wraps until now. Ethan stands up. He thanks him. Kim stops him. He says one more thing. At the evaluation hearing, there will be a person on the committee whom Kim cannot identify. Not one of the regular members. Someone who's been invited, with a security clearance higher than that of the branch director. Ethan nods. He walks out of the cafe. It's drizzling outside. He stands under an awning and thinks about his mother, about how she taught him to apply bandages, about how she made him check the pulse on a teddy bear's wrist, about how he once asked why it was necessary, and she replied that someday he'd understand. He didn't understand back then. He's starting to understand now. 16 days until the certification exam. Ethan is training with a new goal. Not just to acquire skills, but to weave them into a system. Yuna works with him every day. She devises combinations. Lunge plus steel skin for an aggressive entry. Blood circle plus wound assessment for field control. Call of the wounded as radar. Thermal dome as a defensive perimeter. Individually, each skill is no higher than C rank. Together, they create something Yuna has never seen before. She says it's not a fighting style, it's a medical protocol translated into the language of combat. Ethan first assesses, then he stabilizes, then he neutralizes, like a doctor. Only the patient is the battlefield, and the disease is the monster. On the 8th day before the certification, Hana Kim arrives. Ethan isn't expecting her. She's standing at the training ground gate. 21 years old, skinny, angry, red eyes. Her hair is pulled back into a messy ponytail. She looks at Ethan and says she knows who he is. She says he's the paramedic who was on duty the night her brother died, a year ago. The shift from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. Patient Kim Jun-ho, 25 years old, cardiac arrest, 12 minutes of CPR. They couldn't revive him. Ethan remembers. He remembers everyone he couldn't save. 73 saved and 11 lost. Kim Jun-ho was the 8th. He doesn't look away. Hana asks why he didn't save her brother. Her voice breaks. She isn't screaming. It's worse. She speaks quietly, like someone who's kept this question bottled up inside for a year and has finally found someone to ask. Ethan answers. He says her brother came to the ambulance station a week before he died. He complained of chest pain. They did an EKG. They showed him the results. They told him he needed to see a cardiologist. He refused. He said he didn't want to scare his sister. He asked them not to call his relatives. Ethan didn't call. He followed the rules. A week later, his heart stopped. Hana listens. Her face is pale. Her lips tremble. She asks why he didn't break the rules. Ethan is silent. Then he says he asks himself the same question every night. Hana stands there. She looks at him. Then she turns and walks away, without saying a word. Ethan thinks he'll never see her again. He's wrong. She comes the next day, and the next. She doesn't speak. She sits in the stands and watches him train. On the 4th day, she brings a first aid kit, a professional one, fully stocked, and places it next to the training area. She says one word. It'll come in handy. On the 5th day after practice, he's sitting on the floor with broken knuckles. She sits down next to him. She takes out a bandage. She bandages his hands in silence. Her hands are precise, quick. She's studying to be a doctor, the best diagnostician in her class. Ethan watches her work. He says she has good hands. She tells him to shut up. But she doesn't leave. That evening, Yuna comes to Ethan's dorm for the first time. She brings food, containers of rice and meat. She says he doesn't eat well. Ethan opens the door wider. She comes in. The apartment is small, just one room, a bed, a table, a chair, a photo of his mother on the wall. Yuna looks at the photo. She doesn't ask any questions. They eat in silence. Then she says she found something else. In the files on the flash drive. One of the names on the list of decoys. Kim Tae-hyun. Not the analyst. Someone with the same last name. Or a relative. Someone with that same name was on the list of people the Han clan wanted to send on a cleanup mission 3 years ago. The request was submitted, but not carried out. Someone inside the association blocked it. Ethan thinks. If analyst Kim is digging into Project Zero and his name, or his relative's name, pops up on the Han clan's lists, then Kim is in danger. Maybe he's already in danger. He picks up his phone. He dials Kim's number. 1 ring, 2, 3, 4, 5. Voicemail. Ethan hangs up. He looks at Yuna. She understands without words. They go outside. It's nighttime. The rain has stopped, but the pavement is wet. Ethan activates the call of the wounded. 100-meter radius. He expands his focus. Nothing. Kim isn't wounded, or he's not within range. The phone rings. It's Kim's number. Ethan answers. Kim's voice is hurried and quiet. He says he's being followed. He says he found something else in the archives. He says he can't talk on the phone. He says he's at his performance review. He'll be at his performance review. They'll talk there. Then the connection cuts out. Ethan stands on the wet sidewalk with the phone in his hand. Yuna is beside him. She's silent. Then she says quietly that he should be careful. He nods. She walks away. He watches her go. The thread of duty stretches between them, pulsing gently. 15 on the recognition scale. She doesn't fully trust him yet, but she's already walking beside him. That's more than he had a year ago. A year ago, he had no one. Evaluation day. Ethan stands in front of the association's central arena building. Glass and concrete. 20 stories. A holographic coat of arms rotates on the roof, a shield bearing the inscription, "Protection through Strength." He smirks to himself. Inside, there are 3,000 seats. All are filled. 6-channel cameras, a live broadcast across the entire country. After the bus video and the fight with Jake, the ratings skyrocketed. People want to see what this F+, whom the entire system had written off, will do. Bookmakers are offering 7-to-1 odds that he'll fail. A month ago, the odds were 34-to-1. Progress. So-yeon stands nearby, a notepad in her hands. Her expression is serious. She says she's done the math. Ethan currently has 16 active skills. 4 C rank, 1 B. The rest are D and E. 27 threads of duty. For an F+, that's absurd. For a B rank, it's serious. For who he's going to become today, it's the bare minimum. Yuna is waiting inside. She sent a message this morning. 1 word. Ready. He replied the same way. Ready. Hana is sitting in the stands. She didn't say she was coming. She just showed up. Ethan sees her as he enters the hall. 3rd row, arms crossed, a frown on her face. She pretends not to be looking at him, but she is. He steps up onto the platform for the examinees. 14 other F ranks are standing next to him, all of them pale, all of them scared. They all know that failure means the nuclear farms. Ethan is the only one who looks calm. Not because he isn't afraid, but he's used to working under pressure. Night shifts in the ambulance teach you one thing: panic kills faster than disease. The commission sits on the dais. 7 people. Ethan recognizes 3 of them. The coordinator who gave him an F+, the officer who led the investigation into Silverfang, and Han Min-jun, B rank, guild leader, Jake's uncle. He sits in the center with an impassive expression. Formally, he's on the committee as a representative of the subcommittee. In reality, he's here to make sure Ethan doesn't pass. Sitting next to Min-jun is a man Ethan doesn't know. Kim had warned him. A guest. His rank is higher than that of a branch director. A man in his 50s, graying temples, a suit more expensive than everyone else's combined. Calm eyes. He looks at Ethan, and Ethan senses something. Not fear. Something, a sense of recognition. As if this man knows more about him than he does himself. The exam consists of 3 trials. The first, a combat test. Controlled monsters ranging from E to C rank. They're released in waves. The goal is to hold out for 5 minutes. For F rank, the standard is to last 1 minute against an E rank opponent. Ethan survives 5 waves in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The final wave is C rank, 2 stone golems. He doesn't strike them. He uses charge to lure both into the center of the arena. He activates blood circle at its maximum radius. Stone bodies don't have blood, but they contain a magical fluid that serves the same function. The circle slows its circulation. The golems freeze. Ethan approaches and places his hand on the first one's chest. Wound assessment. The system shows him the golem structure, every crack, every weak point. He strikes once, right at the central node. The golem crumbles. The second one receives the same diagnosis and the same blow. It crumbles. The audience gasps. The commentator says this is the fastest completion of the combat test in the last 3 years. Min-jun sits motionless. The man with gray temples tilts his head slightly. The second test. Tactical. A dungeon simulation. A group of 5 mannequins with various injuries. The task is to stabilize them all in 10 minutes. The standard for C-rank healers. Ethan isn't a healer, but he's a paramedic. He completes it in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. His hands move on autopilot. Tourniquet, splint, chest compressions, potion. Next. Yuna in the stands clenches her fists. Hana in the 3rd row leans forward. So-yeon writes in her notebook so fast she breaks her pencil. The 3rd test. Ethan doesn't expect this. A test of willpower. A magical construct that creates an illusion of the examinee's greatest fear. You have to stand within the illusion for 3 minutes without losing control. The lights go out. Ethan plummets into darkness. When he opens his eyes, he's standing in a hospital corridor. the smell of antiseptic, the light of fluorescent lamps. He recognizes this place. The night emergency room, 3rd floor, room 412. The door is open. He enters. His mother is lying on the bed, thin, yellow, tubes, IVs, monitors. She looks at him, smiles, tells him not to worry, says everything will be all right. He knows it won't be. He's been through this before. He stood here, held her hand, watched as the line on the monitor turned into a straight line, heard the sound, a long, steady beep. The illusion recreates everything in detail: the smell, the light, the sound, her voice, her hand in his. Ethan stands there. He doesn't move. He doesn't close his eyes. Tears stream down his face, but he stands there. He counts the seconds. 1, 2, 3. Just like on shift, just like when he lost patience. Don't look away. Don't run. Stand and watch. Accept it. 180 seconds. 3 minutes. The light returns. He's standing in the arena. His face is wet. His hands are shaking. But he stands. The hall is silent. The committee is silent. Even Min Jun is silent. A man with graying temples looks at Ethan and jots something down in his notebook. The results will be announced in 20 minutes. Ethan Park, former rank F+, new rank B. The hall erupts. 3,000 people. Shouts, applause, someone whistles, someone curses. An F rank received a B on a single exam. That's never happened before. In the stands, So-yeon is crying and laughing at the same time. Yuna stands by the railing and smiles for the first time in a year. Hana sits in the 3rd row and covers her mouth with her hand. Min Jun stands up from behind the examination committee table. He walks down the steps. He walks toward Ethan. He extends his hand. His face is smiling. His eyes are gone. He says he's offering his congratulations. He says he hasn't seen such talent in a long time. Ethan shakes his hand. Min Jun's hand is cold and dry. At that moment, a sound comes from the right, a dull, soft, as if a sack had fallen to the floor. Ethan turns his head. In the front row of the stands, a man is lying on the floor. There's blood all around him. People jump to their feet. They scream. Ethan rushes over. The wounded call activates automatically. 1 casualty, critical condition, penetrating wound, heart area. He jumps over the railing, pushes people aside, falls to his knees next to the body, and freezes. Kim Tae-hyun, the analyst, lying on the floor, eyes open. His shirt is dark with blood. The wound is small, precise, professional. Someone stabbed him with a thin blade between the ribs. In the crowd, in a hall holding 3,000 people, in front of the cameras. Ethan presses his hands against the wound. The circle of blood, a blue light. The bleeding slows. But the wound is too deep. The blade pierced the pericardium. He feels Kim's heart beating erratically. It falters. It stops. The breath of life. He presses on his chest. Once, twice, 3 times. Just like in an ambulance. Just like hundreds of times before. The heart starts beating again. It stops again. He presses again. Hannah appears beside him. She drops to her knees. Her hands are covered in blood. She doesn't ask questions. She just gets to work. She clamps down on the wound with her other hand while Ethan performs chest compressions. In sync. As if they'd done this together 100 times. The association's medics arrive a minute and a half later. They carry Kim away on a stretcher. Ethan is kneeling in a pool of blood. His hands are red. His face is blank. Hannah is beside him. She's covered in blood, too. She looks at the stretcher, then at Ethan. Her expression changes. Something inside her breaks and reassembles itself. She recognizes the man on the stretcher, Kim Tae-hyun, an analyst in the association's statistics department. She says his full name, Kim Tae-hyun. Then she looks at Ethan. She says he's her father. Kim Tae-hyun dies in the ICU 4 hours after being wounded. The blade went a millimeter deeper than Ethan could compensate for. Pericardium. cardiac tamponade, cardiac arrest on the operating table. The surgeons worked for 40 minutes. They were 1 minute too late. Ethan finds out in the hospital hallway. He's sitting on a plastic chair. The blood has been washed off his hands, but there's still red under his fingernails. Yuna and So-yeon are beside him. They're silent. The doctor comes out of the operating room. He shakes his head. He says one word. "I'm sorry." Ethan closes his eyes. Kim Tae-hyun, the man who was the first to look at his charts and say, "Recalculate." The man who warned him. The man who found the connection between his mother and Project Zero. Dead. Killed in a hall filled with 3,000 people, in front of the cameras. And no one saw a thing. The door at the end of the hallway opens. Hana. She walks slowly. Her face is pale. Her eyes are dry. Either she's already cried her eyes out, or she hasn't even started yet. She approaches Ethan. She stands in front of him. She says she wants to know who did it. Ethan looks at her. He stands up. He says he'll find out. She says no, she'll find out herself, with him or without him, but it'll be faster with him. Ethan is silent for a second. Then he nods. He says, "Then together." For the first time, Hana calls him by his name. Not Park, not the paramedic. Ethan. It sounds strange coming from her mouth, as if the word is stuck in her throat. But she says it. So-yeon makes a note in her notebook. Yuna silently places her hand on Hana's shoulder. Hana doesn't brush it away. For the next 3 days, Ethan doesn't sleep. He studies the surveillance footage from the certification hall. The association won't grant access to them. Baek Jong-soo uses his connections at the Blue Whale and gets copies. The quality is mediocre. The hall is huge, 3,000 people. But Ethan knows the time. He knows the place. Front row, left section. 90 seconds passed between the announcement of the results and Min-jun's handshake. During those 90 seconds, someone approached Kim and struck him. The footage shows Kim sitting. Then he flinches slightly. Then he collapses onto his side. The person next to him has already left. His face is hidden. Hood, gloves. A professional. Ethan watches the footage 40 times. On the 41st viewing, he notices something white in Kim's pocket. A note. He remembers. When he was pressing his hands against the wound, he saw the edge of a piece of paper. He didn't pay attention to it then. Now he does. He contacts the morgue through Park. Kim's belongings had been inventoried and stored in a warehouse. Among them is the note. The text is short. He wasn't supposed to survive. The handwriting. Ethan looks at the photo of the note on his tablet screen. Then he stands up. He walks over to the wall where a photo of his mother hangs. Next to the framed photo is a postcard. The only thing his mother left him besides debts. A birthday postcard, handwritten, signed, Mom. The handwriting on the note and the handwriting on the postcard match. Not perfectly, but closely enough. The slant of the letters, the shape of the loops, the distinctive dot above the letter. Ethan stands in front of the wall and breathes. In. Out. His mother died 4 years ago. This handwriting belongs to her, or to someone who learned to write the same way. Or someone who worked with her 20 years ago and picked up her style. There are 3 possibilities. None of them lead to anything good. He shows the find to the team. Yuna looks at both samples. She confirms the similarity. Hana is silent. So-yeon takes notes. Ethan says the note is a message, not to him, to whoever will be investigating. Someone wanted him to find this note, wanted him to recognize the handwriting, wanted him to start digging. The question is why? Is it a trap or a clue? He doesn't know, but he has no choice. The next day, Ethan formally registers the team with the association. A B-rank team is allowed to have up to 6 members. Team roster: Ethan Park, B rank, commander; Yuna So, B rank, reconnaissance and tactics; Hana Kim, unranked, medical intern, assigned under a special protocol; So-yeon Cho, F rank, trainee. On paper, it's a weak team. 1 B, 1 F, 2 people with no combat experience. In reality, These are 4 people bound by something stronger than a contract. Duty, pain, purpose. Baek Jong-soo looks at the application and shakes his head. He says that with this lineup, they won't be allowed past E-rank dungeons. Ethan says he doesn't need dungeons. He needs access to the association's archives. As a B rank with a registered team, he's entitled to request information at Access Level 3. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. He submits a request. A project under the First Guild, Medical Wing, Staff Roster, from 20 years ago. The response comes 2 days later. Denied. Insufficient clearance level. Ethan had expected this. But there's a detail in the denial. The clearance number required for access. 7. Level 7 out of 10. Branch directors have this level of clearance. So do the heads of the great clans, and members of the Association Council. The man with graying temples who sat on the evaluation committee. Ethan memorizes the number. That evening, he's sitting in a diner with the team. Their first dinner together since Kim's death. Hana eats in silence. Yuna sits next to her and isn't eating. Soyeon tries to lighten the mood. She tells them how she broke a pencil during the evaluation. No one laughs. Then Ethan puts a second helping of meat on Soyeon's plate. She looks at him. He says quietly, "You're not enough. You're Soyeon. That's enough." She freezes. Her eyes glisten. She gets up from the table and goes to the restroom. She returns 5 minutes later with red eyes and pretends nothing happened. Yuna smiles slightly. Hannah snorts. But she smiles just a little too. Ethan's phone vibrates. An unknown number. A different one. Not the one that sent a threat. A text. Cafe Luna, tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'm waiting for the analyst who'll replace Kim. I have what he was looking for. No signature. Ethan looks at the screen, then at the team. He says they have a meeting tomorrow. Cafe Luna, basement level. A narrow staircase leading down. The smell of coffee beans and something herbal. Ethan goes down first. Yuna follows him. Hannah and Soyeon stay outside. As a backup. If they don't come out, Soyeon calls Baek. Inside, it's dimly lit. 6 tables. All empty except one. A woman is sitting at it, about 25 years old, black hair down to her shoulders, strange eyes. One is brown, the other is milky white. She's half blind. In front of her are 6 cups of tea, all different, all steaming. She turns her head when they enter, not because of the sound of footsteps, but because of something else. Ethan feels the seal on his forearm react. Warmth. A soft, pulsing warmth. The woman smiles. She says he's 20 years late, but he's arrived just in time. Ethan stops. Yuna, standing nearby, tenses up. Her hand is on the knife's hilt. The woman tells her to put the weapon away. It's safe here. This is the only place in the city that's safe. She introduces herself. Mei Lee, 24 years old, a seal smith. Ethan has heard the term but doesn't know what it means. Mei Lee explains. A sealsmith is someone who can read seals, see their structure, to understand how they work, not through the system, directly, with her eyes. Or rather, with one eye. She lost the other when she was 10, the first time she tried to read an S-rank seal. The brightness burned her retina. Since then, her left eye has seen only the glow of the seals. Nothing else. She sets the 7th cup in front of Ethan. She tells him to sit down, to drink, to listen. Ethan sits down. The tea is hot. The taste is unfamiliar, bitter and sweet at the same time. Mei Lee says she knew his mother. Or rather, she didn't know her personally. Her mother knew her. 20 years ago, 2 nurses worked together in a secure medical unit at the First Guild. One was named Park Ji-hyo, Ethan's mother. The other was Lee Min-ju, Mei Lee's mother. They were friends. They worked on the same project. The project was called Protocol Zero, the essence of the project. 20 years ago, when the gates had just opened and seals had only just begun to appear on people, a group of scientists from the First Guild discovered an anomaly. Among the thousands of awakened, 1% had seals that didn't fit into the standard classification. Not F, not E, not D, completely outside the scale. Their seals reacted not to the killing of monsters, but to other actions: creation, protection, and healing, compassion. The scientists called them the zeros, and they began to study them. 12 subjects, 12 people with anomalous seals. They were gathered in a secure wing, observed, tested. The scientists tried to understand how their abilities worked. The results were incredible. The zeros grew faster than any S rank, but only when they acted in accordance with the nature of their seal. One grew through construction, another through teaching children, a third through healing. The project lasted 2 years. Then something happened that Mei Li doesn't fully understand. The project was shut down. The 12 subjects disappeared. The documents were classified. 2 nurses who knew too much fled. One took a child with her, a newborn boy. Park Ji-ho and her son, Ethan. He listens and doesn't move. The tea grows cold in her hands. Yuna isn't breathing next to her. Mei Li continues. Ethan's mother fled and went into hiding for 20 years. She worked as a nurse in regular hospitals. She never returned to the world of the hunters. She never told her son the truth. She died of cancer. The cancer she contracted was no accident. Mei Li says this matter-of-factly, without emotion, like a fact. Her mother died of the same cancer, at the same age. Working with the seals without protection caused cell mutations. Both knew. Both kept silent. Both raised their children and waited in silence. Ethan sets the cup down on the table. His hands don't tremble. His voice doesn't falter. He asks one thing. What does it mean that he's a bearer? Mei Li looks at him with her milky eye. She says she can see his seal. She can see its structure. It's unlike any seal she's ever read. A normal seal has a single root. His seal has no roots. It grows from the center and radiates in all directions, like a circulatory system, like a network of nerves, alive, self-evolving, endless. There's only one limitation: fuel, compassion, sincere, uncalculated, unconditional. What his mother taught him from birth. Not because she was a good person, but because she was preparing him for this. Ethan is silent for a long time. Then he asks how Mei Li knows all this. She says her mother gave her a diary before she died. And one thing. She pulls a small glass vial from under the table. Something glows inside, a dim blue glow. Mei Li says it's his mother's seal, preserved, removed from her forearm after her death. Her mother did this at the request of Ji-ho, her final request, to preserve the seal, to give it to her son when the time came. Ethan takes the vial. The glass is warm. The glow pulses in a rhythm he recognizes, 60 beats per minute, a resting pulse, his mother's pulse. He holds the vial in his hands and can't speak. For the first time in 10 years, tears flow silently. He doesn't wipe them away. Yuna turns away, not because she's embarrassed, because she's crying too. Mei Li waits. Then she says one more thing. Project Zero wasn't shut down for no reason. It was shut down because there's a group within the association that knows the truth about the seals. They know they aren't distributed by a random algorithm. Something alive, something slumbering beneath the first gate. And for 20 years, this group has been debating a single question: whether to awaken it or kill it. The group is called the Council of Seals, and one of its members was sitting on Ethan's review panel, a man with graying temples. Ethan lifts his head. His tears have dried. His eyes are clear. He asks what the council wants from him. Mei Li says they're divided. Half want to protect him, half want to destroy him, because Ethan is the only living bearer of Seal Zero, and he's the first in 20 years. But Mei Li knows something else. He isn't the only one. There's a second one. She won't say where he is right now. Not because she doesn't trust him, because Ethan isn't ready to find out yet. Ethan stands up. He takes the vial. He says he'll be back. Mei Li nods. She says she knows. 60 days after his certification. Ethan stands in front of the entrance to a B-rank dungeon in Incheon's industrial district. The gates shimmer blue. The air crackles along the edges of the rift. Next to him are Yuna, Hana, and Soyeon. Their first joint clear. A real one, not a training run. A B-rank dungeon means C and B-level monsters, traps, bosses on the lower floors. The standard team for such a dungeon is at least 6 B-rank members. Ethan has 2 B ranks, including himself, 1 F rank, 1 unranked. The association issued a permit with a note, "At your own risk." Baek Jong-soo warned that if they die, it will be used against Ethan. The Han clan is just waiting for an excuse. Ethan is going anyway, because, according to the Call of the Wounded, there are 3 survivors inside this dungeon. Their signatures are weak. They've been there for 2 days already. A group of D-rank hunters who went in on a reconnaissance mission and didn't return. The association has written them off. It's stated in the report that the probability of survival is less than 2%. It didn't authorize a rescue operation. Ethan sees 3 dots on his internal radar. 3 lives still flickering. 2% isn't 0. They go in. First floor, stone corridors, dampness, the dim glow of mushrooms on the walls. Yuna leads the way. Her Eye of the Shadow scouting skill displays a real-time map of the floor. She sees every turn, every trap, every monster within a 50-meter radius. She guides them quickly and precisely. They bypass the first group of stone guards, 8 C-rank monsters. Yuna finds a detour through a ventilation shaft. It's cramped. It's dark. Soyeon doesn't complain. She crawls in silence. Hana follows her. She curses under her breath but keeps crawling. Second floor. It's warmer here. The mushrooms glow red. The monsters are bigger. Ethan senses the wounded below. Third floor. The signals are getting weaker. He picks up the pace. Yuna tells him not to rush. Traps. He says he knows. But those 3 don't have time. Third floor. A hall with a high ceiling. In the center stands a B-rank stone guardian. 3 meters tall, 4 arms, each holding a weapon. It's blocking the passage to the lower level. There's no way around it. Yuna confirms it. The only way is through it. Ethan assesses the situation. Rana's assessment is running on the monster. Stone guardian, structural analysis. Main body, basalt. Joints, magical binding mortar. Weak point, the connection between the torso and the lower right arm. A crack, an old one. It hasn't healed. He looks at the team. The plan is simple. Yuna creates a distraction. A dash plus steel skin on Ethan. A strike to the weak spot. Soyeon covers for Hana. Hana stands behind them with a first aid kit. Yuna nods. Soyeon clenches her fists. Hana says that if any of them die, she'll personally resurrect them just to kill them again. Ethan almost smiles. The fight lasts 40 seconds. Yuna moves like a shadow. She throws knives at the guard's eyes, blinding him for 3 seconds. Ethan activates dash. Steel skin. He positions himself under the guard's lower right arm. He strikes, right into the crack. His fist passes through the binding mortar. The arm snaps off. The guard loses his balance. Ethan strikes a second time, right at the central node, just like during the golem evaluation. The guard crumbles. 40 seconds. Soyeon notes the time in her notebook. Yuna picks up her knives. Hana checks everyone for injuries. Clear. The passage is open. 4th floor. They find the first one here. A young man, around 20 years old, D rank, lying in the corner. His leg is broken in 2 places. Dehydrated. He's unconscious but alive. Pulse 40. Blood pressure critical. Ethan gets to work. Tourniquet. Splint. Potion. The blood circle stabilizes the bleeding from internal injuries. Hana is right there. They work in sync. No words. He shows her. She does it. Together, they stabilize him in 4 minutes. Ding! Skill acquired. Bone shield. Rank C. Description. Strengthens the target's bone structure, preventing fractures. Ethan doesn't stop. A second casualty further down the corridor. A woman, rank D, burns from an acid monster. 1/3 of her body. Ethan is working. Hana is working. Potions, skills, compression, Jin. The third injured person is even further in a dead-end room. A man, the leader of the group, D+ rank. Condition, critical, 4 wounds, poisoning. He's conscious. He looks at Ethan with glazed eyes, asks who they are. Ethan says they're rescuers. The man laughs hoarsely, says the association doesn't send rescuers for D ranks. Ethan says he's not from the association. The man stops laughing. He looks at Ethan intently. He asks why he's here then. Ethan applies a bandage to the laceration on his shoulder and says simply, "Because you're here." The man is silent. Then he closes his eyes. A tear rolls down his cheek. Ding! Skill acquired. The voice that is heard. Rank B. Description. Words spoken with the intention to heal lift the state of shock and restore the will to live in targets within a 10-meter radius. A second rank B skill. For a single rescue. Ethan feels the seal on his forearm pulsing. Warmth spreads through his arm. The threads of duty. 30. Each new life adds a thread. Each thread is a bond, a responsibility, a promise. The climb back up with 3 wounded people takes 2 hours. Soyeon carries the backpacks. Hana monitors the patient's conditions. Yuna leads the group around the remaining monsters. Ethan carries a man on his back. His ribs no longer hurt. His body has grown stronger. The mark is reshaping him from the inside with every new skill. His muscles are denser. His reflexes are faster. His endurance is greater. He's no longer that skinny guy in a worn-out jacket, although he's still wearing the jacket. 2 association vehicles are waiting at the dungeon exit. Not to pick them up, just following protocol. A standard security cordon at the open gates. An officer by the vehicle spots Ethan with 3 wounded people on his back and beside him. He grabs his radio. He calls an ambulance. 20 minutes later, the wounded are taken away. Ethan stands by the gate. His hands are covered in blood. Again. Hana is beside him. She's covered in blood too. She looks at her hands, then at Ethan. She says she understands now. He asks what? She says she understands why he does it. Not for the skills, not for the power. He does it because he can't help but do it. Just as her brother couldn't help but help his neighbors, even when he was sick himself. Just as her father couldn't help but dig in the archives, even when he knew it was dangerous. She says she hated Ethan for not saving her brother. Now she hates him for understanding why. Because you can't save everyone. But you can keep trying. Ethan looks at her. He says her father never stopped trying either. Hana is silent. Then she nods. Then she says quietly, "Joint skill unlocked. Pulse for 2. Rank B. Description. A healing skill that works at a distance, provided both users are focused on each other." She looks at the system window in front of her. Then at Ethan. He sees the same window. They are silent. Soyeon jots something down in her notebook and smiles quietly. Yuna stands a little way off, watching them. Her expression is one that Ethan can't read, something between approval and something else. Something she's hiding behind her cold eyes. At night, Ethan lies on his bed in the dorm. He's not sleeping. He stares at the ceiling. 30 threads of duty, 20 skills, rank B, the team, the objective, enemies, allies, his mother's secret, the Council of Seals, a flash drive with 34 names, all of this in 60 days. He closes his eyes and thinks about what the man in the dungeon said. The association doesn't send rescuers for D ranks. 34 hunters died because the system decided they weren't worth saving. 3 nearly died today for the same reason. Ethan clenches his fist. He knows what to do next. In the morning, he calls Peck. He says he needs a press conference. Peck is silent for 3 seconds. Then he says he'll arrange it. The press conference is scheduled for 3 days from now. Pek Jong-soo is setting up a room at Blue Whale headquarters. 200 seats for the press, live broadcast on 4 channels. Ethan prepares the material. 34 photographs, 34 names, 34 files containing documents, itineraries, orders, and signatures. Yu has checked every sheet 3 times. Every number has been verified. So-yeon is printing the photos. Hana is sorting the medical reports of the deceased. Causes of death, nature of the injuries, discrepancies between the hunter's rank and the dungeon level to which they were sent. E rank in a B-level dungeon, D rank in an A-level dungeon. The same pattern every time. A request from the guild, the coordinator's signature, the association's seal. Everything is official. Everything is legal. Everything is deadly. The day before the conference, Ethan receives a visit. Not a threat. Worse. Lawyers. 3 men in expensive suits. They introduce themselves as attorneys for the Silver Fang Guild. They say the information on the flash drive was obtained illegally. They say that publishing this data violates the association's confidentiality law. They say that if Ethan speaks out, they'll revoke his license, take him to court, and put him in jail. They speak politely. They smile. Ethan listens. Then he asks one thing. 34 people are dead. That's confidential too. The lawyers exchange glances. They leave. 2 hours later, Peck calls. He says articles have appeared in the media, in 3 publications at once. The headlines are identical. F-rank player who became B is suspected of manipulating the ranking system. The source is anonymous. Quotes from unidentified association experts. Photos of Ethan from the arena and the bus, taken at an angle that makes him look like a criminal. The Khan clan works fast. Discrediting through the press. Legal pressure. The next step is predictable. A setup. That evening, Ethan returns to the dorm. There's a bag by the door. Inside are 2 small bags of white powder and a blank note. He doesn't touch it. He calls Yunu. She arrives 10 minutes later. She takes photos. She documents everything. She says that if he had picked up the package, his fingerprints would be on it. An hour later, a call comes into the police. Anonymous. About drugs in the dorm of Hunter Ethan Park. The police arrive. They find an empty doorway. The package is already with Pak, photographed, documented, sent for analysis. The setup has failed. But Ethan realizes the next one will be more serious. The morning of the press conference. The room is full. 200 journalists, cameras, microphones, spotlights. Ethan steps onto the stage, wearing an ambulance jacket, bandages on his arms. He doesn't look like a B-rank hunter. He looks like a paramedic. It's intentional. He begins to speak. Not with accusations, with names. Lee Jong-ho, 22 years old. A photograph appears on the screen behind him. A young face, a smile, a hunter's uniform. Ethan says when he was born, where he studied, what his rank was, which dungeon he was sent to, who signed the order, when he died. The hall is silent. Park Min-ah, 19 years old. A photograph, a face, a smile, details. Ethan says each name separately, unhurriedly, without faltering. He knows all 34 by heart. Cho Sung-woo, 27 years old. Kang Hae-ri, 21 years old. Yoon Tae-min, 30 years old. Name after name, face after face. The room is heavy with silence. The journalists aren't taking notes. They're watching. The cameras don't move. On the 12th name, a commentator from one of the channels breaks down on live TV. He says he remembers each one. His voice trembles. Ethan continues. The 20th name, the 25th, the 30th, the 34th. On the screen, 34 photographs are lined up in a row. 34 faces, 34 lives. Ethan looks into the camera. He says there are 34 of them. He has memorized them. The Han clan will remember them too. The auditorium erupts, questions, shouts, demands. Ethan shows the documents. Routes, orders, signatures. Everything is on the screen. All live on air. Millions of viewers. Han Min-jun is sitting in his office at that moment, watching the broadcast. His assistant says the broadcast's ratings are breaking all records for the year. Min-jun doesn't respond. He stares at the screen where Ethan is reading out the names. His name is mentioned 6 times. 6 signatures on 6 orders. 6 lives rest in his hands. The phone rings. It's a call from the Association Council, from the prosecutor's office, from the First Guild's headquarters. Min-jun doesn't answer the phone. An hour after the conference, the association announces the launch of an internal investigation. 3 hours later, 3 coordinators submit their resignations. 6 hours later, the Silver Fang Guild is stripped of its license to conduct raids until the investigation is complete. 12 hours later, a hashtag with Itana's name becomes the top trending topic in the country. People share photos of the 34. They draw portraits. They light candles outside the association's buildings. A day later, Itana is invited to a meeting with the head of the association's Seoul branch. Formal recognition. B rank. Leader of a registered team. The right to conduct independent raids. The right to vote at guild meetings. Ethan leaves the association building with a new card in his pocket. His team is waiting for him on the street. Yuna, Hana, Soyeon, and Baek Jong-soo. The old man looks at him and says they've won the first round. Ethan nods. The first, but not the last. 120 days after the evaluation. Ethan is sitting in a hotel room in Gangnam. The room is small, a table, a bed, a window overlooking the south gate. On the table nearby is a tablet with data. 34 people rescued from the decoy dungeon scheme have been found and evacuated over the past 2 months. Not all of them. 34 died. But Ethan found another 47 who were about to be sent. He intercepted them. He rescued them. Each one personally. The threads of duty, 72. He feels every one of them. 28 skills, 4 B rank. The rest are C and D. His seal pulses constantly. The warmth has become as familiar like a second heartbeat. Over these past months, Soyeon has risen to C rank. Not through his system, on her own. Training. Raids, perseverance. She no longer hides her gender. She wears her hair down to her shoulders. She looks people in the eye. Her notebook has become a tablet. She maintains the team's database. Every name, every operation, every result. Hana passed the association's field medic certification, ahead of schedule. The best result in 10 years. She still swears. She still cries at cartoons. But her hands now save lives on the battlefield, not in the training ward. Yuna took off her brace 2 months ago. Her leg works. The scar remains. She moves just like she used to, maybe even faster. Something in her has changed. Not just her body. She's started sleeping. For the first time in a year, Ethan gave her an emergency button linked to his thread of duty. Press it, and he'll hear you. She pressed it 2 weeks later. At 3 in the morning, just to test it. He arrived 4 minutes later, in his boxers, with a first aid kit. She opened the door and looked at him, at the first aid kit, at his boxers. She laughed for the first time in a year. She slept soundly for the first time in a year. The button hasn't been pressed since, but Yuna knows it works. That's enough. In the evening, Ethan goes down to the hotel lobby. The elevator. The doors open. A woman is inside. Tall, blonde hair, a leather jacket, a shoulder bag, the smell of cigarettes and gunpowder. She drops her bag. Ethan picks it up and hands it to her. She looks at him. Her eyes are gray-green, cold, appraising. She says thank you in English, then in Korean. Her accent is slight. Ethan lets her get off at her floor. The doors close. He doesn't know the woman's name is Alexandra Wright. He doesn't know she's S rank. He doesn't know she came to Seoul on a contract for his head. 3 days later they meet again. An A-rank Dang at Incheon. The barrier has been breached. Level A monsters have flooded into the port area. The association has dispatched 3 teams to clear the area. Ethan and his team arrived in response to a call from Nite Dolga. One of the dock workers owes him a favor, a distress signal. Ethan doesn't wait for authorization. He goes in. Inside, it's chaos. These A-rank monsters aren't stone guards or hounds. They're shadow serpents, 10 meters long, acidic blood, invisible in the shadows. 3 association teams have already lost half their members. The wounded lie along the walls. Ethan counts. 11 wounded, 3 in critical condition. He rushes to them. Hana is nearby. Pulse for 2 works from a distance. She stands at the entrance and heals. He's with the wounded and heals them. 50 meters separate them, and a skill that links their concentration. So-yeon evacuates those able to move. Yuna conducts reconnaissance. The snakes attack in waves. Ethan fends off the first. Steel skin, blood circle, dash. The second wave, the third. On the fourth wave, the largest one bursts out of the shadows. 13 meters long. Its eyes are red. Venom drips from its fangs. It heads straight for the group of wounded. Ethan steps between it and them. He activates all his defensive skills at once. Steel skin, thermal dome, wall of will. His body creaks under the strain. His mana burns out. The snake strikes. The blow knocks him back 10 meters. He gets up. It strikes again, knocks him back. He gets up. The snake swings for the third time, and at that moment, a shadow falls from above. The woman from the elevator, Alex. She lands on the snake's head and smashes its skull with a single blow. S rank. 1 move. Clean, precise, absolute. The snake falls. 13 meters of dead flesh. Alex stands on top of it, a cigarette between her teeth. She looks at Ethan. She says he's either very brave or very stupid. Ethan is lying on the floor, 3 broken ribs. Again. He says it's usually both. She isn't laughing, but the corner of her mouth twitches. After the mop-up, Ethan treats the wounded. 17 people. 17 Jing. 17 new threads. Alex stands off to the side and watches. She smokes. She counts. When Ethan finishes, she approaches him. She says she's seen a lot of hunters. None of them would have treated strangers' wounds after a battle in which he nearly died. Ethan wraps a bandage around his ribs. He says he's not a hunter. He's a paramedic. She stares at him for a long time. Then she leaves, without saying goodbye. In her jacket pocket lies a contract with his photo and a sum with 6 zeros. She doesn't take it out. A week later, Alex shows up again, at the doorstep of Ethan's dorm, unarmed, with a bag of food. She says she wants to talk. Ethan lets her in. She sits down on a chair, lights a cigarette. He says that smoking before a fight reduces the blood's oxygen-carrying capacity by 8%. She rolls her eyes, but she puts the cigarette. She says she knows who he is. She knows the Han clan wants to kill him. She knows because they hired her. Ethan looks at her. He's silent. Then he asks why she's here instead of carrying out the contract. She's silent. Then she says that 8 years ago, her younger sister was killed in the same way. A decoy dungeon. They wrote it off as an accident. Alex became S rank to find the culprits. She searched for 10 years. She didn't find them. And then she was watching a press conference on TV. 34 names. And among the documents on the screen, a dungeon number flashed by. That very one. The dungeon where her sister died. Ethan silently stands up. He walks over to the table. He opens the folder. He pulls out a list. He says he's found the names. The complete list. Not 34. More. Over the past 10 years, more than 100 people have gone through the scheme. Her sister is on the list, number 67. He hands her the sheet. She takes it. She reads her sister's name. Her hands are shaking. Then she looks at Ethan. She says he understands that she came to kill him. Ethan says he understands. He asks if she'd like some coffee. She looks at him for 3 seconds. Then she laughs. For the first time in a year. Roughly, hoarsely, almost painfully. But she laughs. She tears up the contract that very night. Shreds of paper fall into the ashtray and burn. 240 days after the evaluation, Ethan stands on the steps of the association's central building. Behind him is his team, Yuna, Hana, So-yeon, Alex, and Baek Chon-soo. Before him are tempered glass doors bearing the association's crest. Today is the association council meeting, an open session, with the press, with cameras. Ethan submitted an official request for a hearing on the Han clan case 2 months ago. It was rejected 3 times. After the 4th submission, accompanied by 112 pieces of documentary evidence, testimonies from 47 rescued hunters, and video recordings from the dungeon, the council could not refuse. The meeting room is on the 20th floor, a round table, 12 council members. Han Min-jun is among them. He sits in his chair with a stony expression. Next to him is that same man with graying temples. Ethan now knows his name. Yo Sang-hyuk, senior advisor to the association, member of the Council of Seals, the man who oversaw Project Zero 20 years ago, the man who presided over his evaluation. Ethan enters. He takes a seat at the witness table. The cameras start rolling. He speaks for 3 hours, without a break. He names names. He shows documents. He presents signatures. He reads out testimony. Every fact is substantiated. Every figure is verified. Yuna prepared the presentation. So-yeon organized the data. Hana provided medical reports for each victim. Alex presented evidence from international branches where the scheme operated outside of Korea. Min-jun listens. His expression doesn't change. But Ethan sees his hands. His fingers dig into the fabric of the chair. White knuckles. After 3 hours, the council calls a recess. In the hallway, Yo Sang-hyuk approaches Ethan. Gray temples, calm eyes. He says he's impressed. He says he hasn't seen such thorough preparation in a long time. Ethan looks at him. He says he knows who he is. Yo Sang-hyuk raises an eyebrow slightly. Ethan says he knows about the Council of Seals, about Project Zero, about his mother. Yo Sang-hyuk is silent for 10 seconds. Then he says that Ethan doesn't know everything. He says the council is divided. Half want to protect him, half want to destroy him. He doesn't say which side he's on. He only says that today's meeting will shift the balance. Which way it goes depends on what happens next. He leaves. Ethan watches him go. The meeting resumes. A vote is taken, 9-3. The Han clan is found guilty of systematically abusing the dungeon distribution system, resulting in the deaths of 113 hunters over the past 10 years. Min-jun is stripped of his seat on the council. The Silver Fang Guild is dissolved. The clan's assets are frozen. Min-jun stands up from the table. He looks at Ethan. He speaks quietly so that only the two of them can hear. He says this isn't the end. He says Ethan doesn't understand what he's gotten himself into. He says the Han clan is just a branch, but the tree still stands. Ethan replies just as quietly. He says he'll find the tree too. Min-jun leaves. In the evening, the team gathers at the apartment Ethan rented a month ago. It's more like a dorm. 2 rooms, a kitchen. They're used to getting together here now. So-yeon is cooking dinner. It's not great, but she's trying. Hana criticizes every dish and eats 3 servings. Yuna sits by the window and says nothing. Alex is smoking on the balcony. Ethan stands in the middle of it all and thinks that, for the first time in a long while, he's surrounded by people who aren't here out of obligation. They're here by choice. Yuna gets up from the window. She walks over to him. She says she wants to tell him something. He listens. She says that when he saved her in the dungeon, she wanted to die. Not from her wound, from being left alone. The team had perished. She had survived. Every day since then had been a punishment. And then he appeared. An F rank in a blood-soaked jacket, with a belt instead of a tourniquet, with hands that didn't tremble. And she thought that if this man wasn't afraid, maybe she didn't have to be either. She takes his hand, for the first time. His fingers are cold. He doesn't let go. So-yeon drops a plate in the kitchen. Hannah pretends not to notice. Alex stubs out his cigarette on the balcony and silently goes back inside. The moment is cut short. Ethan's phone rings. A call from Beck. The old man's voice is tense. The gates. The northern gates. Class A. The barrier has been breached. Monsters of level A and above have poured into the residential area. The association is mobilizing everyone. Ethan hangs up. He looks at the team. No one asks where they're going. Everyone is already on their feet. Northern Seoul, 23:30. The sky above the Pukan Tower residential complex splits open. Not a metaphor, literally. The air cracks and tears apart like fabric being ripped with both hands. A-class gate. A vertical fissure 7 meters high. Blue light pours out of it, along with the smell of burnt iron. 6 residential towers, 4,000 residents. Half are asleep. The other half will stop sleeping in a minute. The association's siren wails 40 seconds too late. 40 seconds during which the monsters are already emerging. Bone Reapers, level A, 2-legged skeletal figures 3 meters tall. Instead of hands, they wield scythes made of condensed manna, bluish-white. They hum at a frequency that makes your teeth ache. Each blow cuts through reinforced concrete to a depth of half a meter. There are 12 of them. They emerge in formation, not chaotically, in formation, as if they know where to go. Behind them, deep within the fault, something is moving. Something from which even the Reapers themselves keep their distance. At that moment, Ethan is standing in his apartment. Yuna's hand is in his. Her fingers are warm. Warm for the first time in a year. The phone rings. Peck. The old man's voice cuts straight to the point. The gates. The northern gates. Class A. A breach. A residential area. Mobilization. Ethan hangs up the phone. He looks at Yuna. At Han, who has just walked in with a tray. At Soyeon, who is chopping vegetables in the kitchen. At Alex, who is smoking on the balcony and has already turned her head because she sensed it too. An S-rank can sense an A-class rift 20 kilometers away. No one asks what happened. No one asks where to go. Soyeon tosses the knife onto the cutting board and grabs the car keys. 4 minutes to get ready. 7 minutes to get there. Soyeon is behind the wheel. She got her license 2 months ago and drives as if every monster in Korea were chasing her at once. Yuna is in the front seat, a tablet on her lap, a map of the area, evacuation route markers, the location of the gates. Hana is in the back seat, checking the first aid kit. 2 full ones, 1 spare. Potions, bandages, splints, everything's in place. Alex is next to her, blades and sheaths on her hips. Her face is calm. She yawns. She says she hasn't slept for 3 days and that this is the best time to fight. Ethan is between them. He closes his eyes. He activates the call of the wounded. A radius of 100 meters is still too far away, but he senses the direction. He senses the density of the threads. 3 of his debtors live in that area. The dock worker he pulled from the dungeon, the woman from the bus, the old man from the Blue Whale gym. 3 strands are taut. 3 people are in danger. A vehicle careens into the square in front of the complex. Chaos. 3 association teams are already deployed. 2 B rank, 4 C rank, 10 D rank. The rest are E and F rank from the support group. Armored vehicles, searchlights, barrier generators that were supposed to hold back the gate but failed. The first team has already retreated. The B rank commander is sitting on the curb, pressing down on a wound on his shoulder. His deputy is lying on a stretcher. The second team is holding the perimeter. Shields, barriers, a wall of magical light cracking under the Reaper's blows. The third team is inside the nearest tower, evacuating residents, slowly. The elevators are out of service. The stairwells are narrow. People are panicking. Children are crying. Ethan gets out of the vehicle. He activates the call of the wounded at full range. The information floods in. 23 wounded, 7 in critical condition. 4 inside the building on the 3rd and 5th floors. 3 in the square beyond the perimeter line. He sees every one of them. Red dots on the internal map. The brightness of the dot corresponds to the severity. 4 bright red. 3 dim red. The rest are orange and yellow. He looks at the team. Everyone already knows their role. Not because he told them to. Because over these past months, they've learned to think as a single organism. Yuna nods and disappears. 30 seconds later, she's on the roof of the neighboring building. Shadow's eye is activated. She sees everything, every Reaper, every person, every exit. Her voice in Ethan's earpiece is as steady as a line on a monitor. 12 Reapers, 8 in the square, 4 moving toward the buildings. Behind them in the fissure is a large signal. Undetermined, a level above A. Ethan hears it and commits it to memory. Hana has already set up the medical station. 2 folding tables, first aid kits, potions. She stands in the center and waits. Her hands are ready. Her face is angry. She's always angry when she sees the wounded. Anger makes her more precise. So-yeon grabs a backpack, 2 backpacks, her own and a spare one with blankets and water. She runs toward the building. C rank, fast, strong. She's no longer the girl who used to hide. She's a fighter. Alex stands in front of the Reaper's line. She draws her blades, short, black, made of a material Ethan doesn't recognize. She cracks her neck. She says that 12 Reapers means 12 minutes. Ethan says the wounded don't have 12 minutes. Alex corrects him. 6. She bursts into action. S rank at full power. Ethan saw this once in a dungeon with the shadow serpents. Now he sees it again, and once again goosebumps run down his spine. She doesn't move. She's flowing, like water, like mercury, like something that shouldn't exist in a human body. The first Reaper swings his scythe. Alex slips beneath the blow. The blade pierces his neck. The Reaper falls. She's already on the second one. The blade strikes his joint. Third, fourth. Ethan isn't watching. He doesn't have time. He runs to the wounded. The first, a man in his 40s, a laceration on his abdomen. The Reaper's scythe grazed him, but even a glancing blow from an A rank is enough to open the abdominal cavity. Blood. A lot of it. Ethan drops to his knees. The blood circle. Blue light. The bleeding slows. Wound assessment. Small intestine damage. Blood loss. 1 liter and 300 milliliters. Class 3. Borderline Class 4. Breath of life. Hands on his chest. Blood pressure. 1, 2, 3. The man coughs. His eyes open. Ethan tells him not to move. The voice that is heard. The words sink into the man's consciousness, and he stops panicking. His body relaxes. Blood pressure stabilizes. Pulse evens out. Ding! Second casualty. A woman. Spinal fracture. Fell down the stairs during the panic. Do not move her, under any circumstances. One wrong move, and her spinal cord will be severed. Ethan carefully immobilizes her neck. The shield of bones. A magical corset around her spinal column. Stabilization. She's crying. She says she can't feel her legs. Ethan tells her it's temporary, that her vertebrae are intact, that the nerves are pinched by swelling, that an hour after the potion, she'll be walking. He doesn't know for sure, but the voice that is heard makes his words true in her mind. The panic subsides. The pain eases. Ding! The third one. A child. A boy of about 10. A burn from the Reaper's mana on his left arm. The skin is swollen. Blisters. The child isn't crying. He's too shocked to cry. Ethan drops to his knees in front of him. Thermal shield. Neutralizing the residual mana in the burn. Potion. Compress. He tells the boy he's brave. The boy looks at him with wide eyes. He asks quietly if he's the one from the video, the one who rescued people from the bus. Ethan nods. The boy says he wants to be like him when he grows up. Ethan says it's better to be a doctor. Safer. Ding! Hannah is working at the perimeter. Pulse for 2 is activated. She stands 50 meters away from Ethan and treats those he stabilizes. From a distance. Their focus merges. He senses her. Warm, steady, fierce, precise. Every time he stabilizes a wound, she adds regeneration. In sync. No words, no eye contact. They just work. So-yeon is inside the building, 3rd floor. An elderly couple. He's carrying him. She's carrying her. Backpacks on their backs. Blankets tucked under their arms. She carries them down the stairs quickly and carefully. Hands them off to the support team at the entrance. Runs back. 5th floor. A family with 2 children. The mother is panicking. The The father has a dislocated shoulder. The children are quiet. So-yeon picks up both children. She tells the parents to follow her. Her voice is calm, commanding, C-rank. She leads them down, floor by floor. Yuna is on the headset. The fourth Reaper has entered the building through the west entrance. Third floor. He's heading toward the stairs. So-yeon is on the fourth floor with the family. Ethan hears him. He dashes toward the building. A burst of speed. Steel skin. He bursts into the entrance hall. The staircase. Third floor. The Reaper stands in the hallway. His scythe is raised. At the end of the hallway, an elderly woman is hiding behind a column. She's clutching a cat to her chest. The Reaper swings his scythe. Ethan intercepts it. Wall of will. A magical barrier between the scythe and the man. The scythe slams into the barrier. The impact reverberates through his entire body. His hands go numb. The barrier cracks, but it holds. 1 second. 2. 3. Ethan activates wound assessment on the Reaper. A weak spot. The left knee joint. A crack in the bone. An old one that hasn't healed. He strikes, with his foot, right into the crack. The knee snaps. The Reaper falls to one leg. The scythe drops. Ethan strikes again, with his fist at the central node on the chest, where a human's solar plexus is. For the Reaper, it's a mana node. The blow penetrates deeply. The Reaper crumbles. 3 meters of bone and mana turn to dust. The woman behind the column looks at him. The cat in her arms meows. Ethan approaches. He takes the woman by the hand. He says he'll lead her out. He leads her out. Floor by floor, out onto the street. He hands her over to the medics. Clink. He turns around. Alex is done. The last Reaper falls. 12 in 7 minutes, not 6. She walks over to Ethan. Her blades are covered in blood. Her face is calm. She says they're rusting. Ethan says that 7 minutes for 12 A ranks is 3 times faster than the standard rate for an S level. She tells him not to suck up to her, but the corner of her mouth twitches. The area has been cleared. 23 wounded have been stabilized. The evacuation is 80% complete. The remaining residents are leaving on their own. Association medics are treating the wounded. The police are expanding the cordon. Cameras are rolling. Live broadcast. Millions of viewers at 3 in the morning. Ethan stands in the center of the square. His mana is at 0. His body aches. His hands are covered in blood, as usual. And then the ground shakes. A tremor so powerful it cracks the asphalt. A second one, a third, rhythmic, like footsteps. Out of the fissure emerges what had been hiding behind the Reapers, slowly, solemnly, as if it knows it's being watched. 5 meters tall, 6 legs, each as thick as a tree trunk. A shell of black bone, matte, absorbing light. Eyes. 20 of them, arranged all over the shell, all red, all glowing, all staring at a single point, at Ethan. Yuna in the earpiece. Her voice trembles for the first time. The gatekeeper, level S, appears only when the gate is about to expand and become permanent. If he emerges fully from the rift, the gate will lock into place. It will be impossible to close it. A permanent portal in a residential area. Monsters will pour through it non-stop, day after day, week after week, until they devour the neighborhood, then the district, then the city. This is the spill. Not in 100 days, right now. 4,000 residents in the neighborhood, 3 million in the surrounding neighborhoods, 12 million in the city. Ethan looks at the Guardian. The Guardian looks at Ethan. 20 red eyes and 2 brown ones. The pause lasts 3 seconds. Alex stands beside him. Their blades are raised. She says quietly that this is an S-level threat, that she needs a minute to prepare her breach technique, that even for her this is pushing it. Ethan says there's no time. The Guardian is already moving. The first leg rises and strikes the asphalt. The pavement cracks within a 10-meter radius. The second leg. A shockwave knocks down 2 medics at the perimeter. The third. The barrier generator sparks and goes dark. He's heading toward the city, step by step. Ethan takes a step forward. 1. The The seal on his forearm flares up. Not blue, white. Blindingly white. So bright that Alex covers her eyes with her hand. Yuna on the roof turns away. Hana, beyond the perimeter, falls to her knees. Soyeon freezes by the building. Light emanates from Ethan, from his seal, from every pore. The system displays a window he has never seen before. Protocol 0 is activated. All the threads of duty resonate. All skills are available simultaneously. Temporary rank 0. Ethan senses them, all of them, each of the 89 threads, every person on the other end. A dock worker sleeps at home and smiles in his sleep. The woman from the bus feeds her baby a bottle in the middle of the night. The old man from the Blue Whale reads a book. M-Boy, whose burn he bandaged 5 minutes ago, is sitting in the ambulance looking out the window. All of them. All alive. All connected to him. The threads tighten. It doesn't hurt. It's warm. Energy flows through them back to Ethan. Not their strength, not their mana, their faith. That he'll make it. That he won't back down. That he is the one who saved them and will save them again. Ethan's body is changing. Light envelops him. His ambulance jacket flutters from the energy passing through him. His skills merge, not separately, all 28 of them, simultaneously. A single stream. The blood circle, steel skin, thermal dome, wall of will, mirror of duty, the voice that is heard, the call of the wounded, sprint, shield of bones, breath of life, thermal shield, poison neutralization, wound assessment, smoke barrier, pulse for 2, all of them, at once. Ethan raises his hand. A white light concentrates in his palm. And he understands. Not with his mind, with his body, with the mark, with everything he is. The gatekeeper is not an enemy. The gatekeeper is a symptom, like the hounds, like the reapers, like all the monsters that have been pouring out of the gate for 20 years. They don't attack. They're sick. Something beneath the gate is dying, and its pain spills out into the world in the form of monsters. The gate isn't a portal for invasion. The gate is a wound, open, unhealed, bleeding for 20 years, and for the first time in his life, Ethan sees a wound he can close. He takes a step toward the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper freezes. 20 red eyes blink. Ethan takes a second step, a third. He raises both hands. A wave of white light sweeps across the square. Not a shock wave. Soft, like a pulse, like a heartbeat. It passes through the guardian, passes through the rift, fades into the gates. The light penetrates the black bone armor, finds cracks, finds weak points, finds places where the bone has fused incorrectly, like a fracture that healed crookedly. Ethan isn't striking. Ethan is healing. He is healing the gate, heals the rift. He closes the wound in reality just as he used to close wounds on the body. A band of light around the edges, compression of energy, stabilization through all 28 skills simultaneously. The rift contracts, slowly, edge to edge, like a wound that's closing. The guardian roars, a low, vibrating sound that makes the glass in the windows. It pulls him back. 6 legs scrape against the asphalt. 20 eyes go dark, one after another. He isn't dying. He's returning to where he came from. The light from the gate shines brighter. White mixes with blue. Ethan stands with his arms raised. Blood from his nose. Blood from his ears. His mana has long since dropped below 0. He's drawing on something else. On the faith of 89 people who are asleep and don't know that right now they're giving him their confidence. On the memory of his mother. On the words she spoke every evening. On the hands she taught him to bandage. The rift is closing. More. More. The last meter. Half a meter. 10 centimeters. Closed. A roar. A shockwave. Windows in the 3 nearest buildings shatter. The asphalt cracks in a grid pattern. Every single barrier generator burns out. But the gate is closed. Ethan drops his hands. The white light fades. The mark on his forearm flickers and goes dark. He stands there. A second. 2. His legs give way. He starts to fall. Alex catches him. She's right there. She's been there the whole time. The blades are sheathed. Hands catch him. Strong, warm. They smell of gunpowder and cigarettes. He falls into her arms and she holds him. His head rests on her shoulder. She speaks softly, right into his ear, so he won't die. She says that if he dies, she'll resurrect him and kill him herself. He wants to reply. He wants to say that smoking reduces the blood's oxygen-carrying capacity by 8%. He doesn't have time. Darkness takes him gently, like anesthesia. The last thing he hears is Yuna's voice in his earpiece. She says one word. The gates are closed. Then silence. Ethan opens his eyes. A white ceiling. The smell of antiseptic. The quiet hum of monitors. An IV in his right hand. Sensors on his chest. The association's hospital. A private room. A window on the left. It's morning outside the window. A gray sky. A light, steady rain. He lies there and does what he's done every morning for the past 5 years. He checks his vitals. Pulse. 68 beats per minute. Steady. Blood pressure. Feels like 120/80. Normal. Ribs. Intact. For the first time in a month. Mana. Empty. But it's recovering. A warm current in his forearm. Slow. Like an IV drip, only from the inside. He's alive. He turns his head to the right. Yu is sleeping on the chair next to the bed. Na is sleeping on a chair next to the bed, curled up in a ball. Her legs are pulled up to her chest. Her hair has fallen over her face. A single strand is stuck to her cheek. Her hand hangs down. On her wrist is a thin bracelet with a button, an emergency button. That very one. She didn't press it. She just came. She just sat down. She just fell asleep next to him. So-yeon's backpack lies on the floor by the door. It's worn. It has a circle guild patch that So-yeon sewed on herself, crookedly but with love. The backpack is unzipped. The edge of a notebook sticks out of it. It's open to the last page. The writing is small, neat. Ethan can't see it from here, but he knows what's there. Every minute of yesterday's battle. Every skill. Every casualty. The activation time for Protocol 0. Its duration. The side effects. She wrote it all down. Right down to the last second. Then she went to sleep. On the windowsill is Hana's first aid kit. A professional one, fully stocked, opened. 1 ampule has been used. Next to it is a glass of cold coffee. On the rim of the glass is lipstick. Dark red. Hana was here. She checked on him. She made sure he was stable. She administered something from the first aid kit. She drank the coffee. She left the first aid kit there in case it was needed. She left. A leather jacket hangs on the back of the second chair. Black. Worn. It smells of cigarettes and gunpowder and something else. Gun oil. Alex. She left the jacket. She didn't forget it. She left it. That means she'll be back. That means more than words. Ethan lies there looking at these things. A backpack by the door. A first aid kit on the windowsill. A jacket on the chair. Yuna sleeping nearby. 4 people who came while he was unconscious. 4 sets of footprints. 4 pieces of evidence that he's not alone. A year ago, he had no one. An apartment 18 square meters. Debts from his mother's funeral. Night shifts in the ambulance. 73 patients saved, none of whom ever called back. Rank F. A skill everyone considered trash. A system that had been silent for 4 years. Now he has 89 threads of debt. 28 skills. Rank 0. The team. The guild. People who come while he sleeps and leave their backpacks and jackets behind. The door opens quietly. Kana. In her hands, a tray with breakfast. Rice, soup, pickled vegetables, tea. She freezes in the doorway. She sees that he's awake. Her expression changes. First, relief. Then, her usual mask of irritation. She sets the tray on the nightstand. She says that if he tries to die one more time, she'll personally turn off his IV. Then she sits down next to him on the edge of the bed. She's silent for 10 seconds. Ethan sees that her hands are shaking. She hides them in the pockets of her robe. She pulls out an envelope. Thick, paper, old. The corners are worn. She says she found it among her father's belongings, in a box that Hana's mother gave her after the funeral. The box had been sitting in the closet for 3 months. Hana couldn't bring herself to open it. Then she opened it. Inside were documents, photographs, and Kim Tae-hyun's diary, encrypted, a personal code. Hana decrypted it over the course of 3 months. She worked through the nights, letter by letter, page by page. Inside were the notes her father had kept over the last 10 years. Observations of the seal's anomalies, statistical models, correlations between skill type and the bearer's personality, hypotheses about the origin of the gates, and one entry, the last one, written the day before the evaluation, the day before his death. Hana takes the notebook out of the envelope. Thin, green cover. She opens it to the bookmarked page. She reads aloud, quietly, so as not to wake Yuna. Her voice is steady. She's already read this 100 times. She's memorized it. Kim Tae-hyun wrote, "Today I found definitive confirmation of what I've suspected for 10 years. The seals aren't distributed by an algorithm, not by chance, not by divine power. Beneath the first gate lies a being, alive, sentient, ancient, not a monster, not a god, something else entirely, for which we have no word. It is dying, slowly, 20 years, maybe longer. It opened the gates 20 years ago, not to attack, but to call for help. The monsters crawling out of the gates are not an invading army. They are symptoms, cells from a diseased organism that have broken free, like pus from a wound, like blood from a cut. The world is sick, and what lies beneath the gates is the heart of this world, or the brain, or both. The marks it imprints on people aren't weapons. They're the immune system, antibodies. It created them to find someone who could cure it, not to kill, to heal. For 20 years it sifted through people, thousands, tens of thousands. It gave them power, it gave them skills, it watched what they did, and every time it was disappointed. Because every single one, without exception, used that power for themselves. The strong grew stronger, the rich grew richer, clans monopolized the cores, guilds turned into corporations, hunters became mercenaries. No one saved anyone, no one healed anyone, no one helped the weak unless it brought them profit. Until one appeared, F-rank, a paramedic, with a skill everyone called trash, helping a stranger. The only seal in the world that grows from compassion. Because that's exactly what a dying person needs. Not a sword, not a shield, not a spell. Hands that heal. A heart that doesn't calculate gain. A person who helps not because they'll get something in return, but because they can't do otherwise. Hana stops. She closes her notebook. She looks at Ethan. He's silent. She places the diary on his lap. She says her father died because of these entries. Someone killed him because he got too close to the truth. She says that now Ethan knows why. Ethan takes the diary. He runs his fingers over the cover. Green. Worn. He flips through the pages. Kim's handwriting is small and neat. Formulas that Ethan doesn't understand. Graphs he can't read. Names he doesn't recognize. But on the last page there's one sentence, written in larger letters than the rest, underlined twice. The real zero doesn't destroy. The real zero heals. Ethan reads that sentence 3 times. He closes the notebook, places it on his chest, lies there and breathes. Yuna wakes up, opens her eyes. She sees him. She sees that he's conscious. She doesn't say a word. She doesn't ask how he's feeling. She doesn't ask what happened. She just reaches out and squeezes his hand. Her fingers are warm. He squeezes back. They lie like that for a minute. Hana is on the edge of the bed. The notebook is on his chest. Yuna is in a chair holding his hand. Silence. Not a heavy one. The silence of three people who have gone through something together that cannot be explained in words. 2 days later, Ethan is discharged from the hospital. His body has recovered. His mana is at 30%. That's enough. They're waiting on the steps. Everyone. Yuna, Hana, Soyeon, Alex, Baek Jung-soo, and Mei Lee. She's standing slightly to the side, a bag in her hands. Inside the bag are 7 thermoses of tea, one for each of them. Ethan walks down the steps. He stops in front of them. He looks at each one. At Yuna, who a year ago lay on a rock with a torn leg and told him to leave. Now she's standing upright. The scar on her leg is hidden under her jeans. Her eyes are clear. At Han, who came to hate him and stayed to nurse him back to health. Her hands are in her pockets. Her face is grim. Her eyes are red from lack of sleep. At Soyeon, who ran away from her family and hid behind a boyish haircut. Now her hair is shoulder length. She's holding a notebook. New. Clean. The Circle Guild emblem on the cover. At Alex, who came to kill him and ended up covering for him. Without a jacket. She's holding the jacket in her hands. She holds it out to Ethan. He takes it. It's his jacket from the ambulance. They changed his clothes at the hospital. Alex took the jacket. She washed it. She mended the hole in the sleeve. She returned it. Ethan puts it on. Old. Worn. It smells of laundry detergent instead of blood. But it's his jacket, his uniform, his reminder of Baek Jung-soo. The old man stands with a cane. 63 years old, a former S rank. The man who believed in him when no one else did. Who gave him the badge and said, "Come in." Who gave him training dangs, connections, and protection. Of Mei Lee, a half-blind girl with 7 cups of tea and 1 truth. Who waited for him for 20 years, who gave him the mother's seal in a glass vial. Ethan stands before them and speaks. He says he knows what lies beneath the first gate, that there is a living being there, that it is dying, that it has been calling for help for 20 years and no one has come. He says he knows why it chose his mother, why it created Project Zero, why it gave him the seal that grows from compassion. Because it doesn't need a warrior. It needs a doctor. He says that the spill in 130 days isn't the end. It isn't an invasion. It's a call. The final call. The being is dying, and its time is running out. And when it dies, all the gates will open. All 43 of them, all over the world. All at once, and nothing will close them, because there will be no one left to close them. The only way to stop this is to go down, to the first gate, and do what he knows how to do. Heal. Alex is the first to break the silence. She says it's the most idiotic plan she's ever heard in her 26 years of life. Then she says she's coming. Yuna says nothing. She simply takes a step forward and stands beside him, shoulder to shoulder. Hannah snorts. She says someone has to make sure this idiot doesn't die on the way to the patient. Soyeon opens a blank notebook. A new one. The first page. She writes the title in large letters. Operation Zero. Mei Lee hands him a glass vial. His mother's seal. A blue glow pulses at a rate of 60 beats per minute. He says he'll need it. Down there. Where what gave his mother strength and took away her health awaits. Baek Jung-soo looks at them all. He shakes his head. He says he's too old for this. Then he pauses. Then he says, "To hell with it." He grabs his cane and stands beside them. Ethan looks at them, at his team, at his family, at the people he saved and who saved him. A week later, he submits an application to the association. Registration of an independent guild. The form is filled out. The members are listed. The name, the circle, the symbol, a blue ring on a white background. Like the blood circle, like the circle of light that flared up around him and Yuna in the underground lake 365 days ago. The application is reviewed for 3 days. It's approved. Yo San-hyuk personally affixes the seal. He meets Ethan in the association's hallway. He says that the Council of Seals has reached a decision. Not unanimously, 7 votes out of 12, but by a majority. They will not destroy Ethan. They will wait. And watch. Ethan looks at him. He says they can watch, but they shouldn't interfere. Yo Sang-hyuk smiles slightly, for the first time ever. The wrinkles around his eyes gather. He says his mother said the same thing, 20 years ago, with the exact same words. He leaves. Ethan stands in the hallway and watches him go. A month later, the Circle Guild conducts its first official raid. Dungeon A-rank raid in the Busan Industrial Zone. A complete sweep, 4 floors, 92 monsters, 0 casualties on the team. 12 rescued hunters whom other guilds had left behind, 12 djinns, 12 new threads, 101. 101 threads stretched between Ethan and 101 people in the country. 101 lives he's touched. 101 reasons not to stop. The evening after the raid, Ethan stands on the roof of the Circle Guild's Circle. A small building, 3 stories. A former medical supply warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. So-yeon found it. She negotiated the lease. She organized the renovations. She directed the workers, notebook in hand. On the first floor is the medical wing. Hana set it up. On the second floor are a training hall and a conference room. On the third floor are living quarters, 1 for each of them. On the roof is a communications antenna and a viewing platform from which half the city is visible. Ethan stands at the edge of the roof. The wind flaps his ambulance jacket. The gates are on the horizon. All 5 fault lines in Seoul are flickering blue, thin cracks in the fabric of reality. In 100 days, one of them will give way. That very one, the first, the oldest, the deepest. 20 years, and what lies beneath it has been waiting for 20 years. Dying, calling out. Yuna appears beside him, quiet, as always. She stands next to him, shoulder to shoulder. She looks at the same gate. She's silent. Then she speaks, not as a question, as a fact, that she won't let him go alone. He says he knows. She turns to him, looks him in the eyes. In her eyes is something that wasn't there a year ago. Not gratitude, not a sense of duty. Something more, something Ethan can't diagnose. She takes his hand. Their fingers intertwine, warm, alive. He doesn't let go. He doesn't want to. Downstairs at headquarters, the lights are on. Voices drift up from an open second-floor window. So-yeon and Hana are arguing about something in the kitchen. So-yeon says the rice needs to cook for 20 minutes. Hana says 18, and that she's a doctor and knows better. So-yeon says a medical degree doesn't make her an expert on rice. Hana says it does. It does. Alex is sitting on the first-floor windowsill. She's cleaning her blade. A cigarette is between her teeth, unlit. She tosses it aside. No smoking. She still keeps the cigarette between her teeth out of habit, but she doesn't light it anymore. Not since Ethan mentioned the 8% oxygen capacity. Beck is sitting in a chair by the fireplace, reading a report on the status of the gates around the world. Glasses on his nose, a pen in his hand. He's making notes in the margins. Mei Li is brewing tea in the corner of the common room. 7 cups. 7 different varieties. A specific one for each person. She knows which tea each person needs, without asking. On the table in Ethan's office on the second floor lies a photograph, the only personal item in the room. His mother, Park Ji-hyo, young, smiling. Her hair is pulled back in a ponytail. She's wearing a nurse's uniform. A hospital corridor, or perhaps a lab corridor, is faintly visible in the background. Next to the photograph is a glass vial containing the seal, which pulses with a blue light at a rate of 60 beats per minute. A resting pulse. A mother's pulse. On the back of the photograph is an inscription. Her handwriting. Genuine. Not a forgery. Not a copy. Her hand. Her words. If you can help, then help, even if you get nothing in return. Ethan is standing on the roof. Yuna is beside him, hand in hand. Below are his people, his family. Ahead lies the gate. Beyond the gate, the one who waits. In 100 days he will descend, not as a hunter, not as a warrior, not as an S rank or a 0 rank or whatever rank the system assigns him. He'll come down as a doctor, as a paramedic, as his mother's son. Because down there is a patient who's been waiting 20 years, who called out and whom no one heard, who created an entire world of hunters, who gave people strength, and asked for one thing: help me. Ethan's mother heard him. She couldn't help, but she raised someone who could. For 4 years, she taught him to take a pulse on a teddy bear. For 10 years, he took pulses on living people. For a year, he took the pulse of a world that was dying. Now he knows the diagnosis. He knows the patient. He knows what to do. The rest is up to him. He squeezes Yuna's hand. She squeezes back. The wind ruffles the hem of his old ambulance jacket. He still wears it. Not because it's comfortable. Not because he has nothing else to wear. Because it's not just a jacket. It's who he is. A paramedic. A doctor. A person who helps. Not for his skills. Not for his strength. Not for his rank. Because he can. Because someone has to. Because his mother told him to help. And he helps. Always.